Hello. Welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. If you want more content, you can follow me on Patreon. I will be uploading more content on there that will be exclusive. The link is in the description. Please support me. 5SF. Chapter 101. Don't underestimate the Puppet Master. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Kankuro looked at Uzumaki Naruto and seemed to be holding back a smile. Hit me. Can you hit me? Kankuro put down the crow on his back and said to Naruto, those two brats have never seen the true horror of Gaara. And you will definitely die here. Don't mention Gaara. Now your opponent is me. Uzumaki Naruto made seals with both hands, ready to rush forward at any time. Kankuro looked smug. Okay, I'll let you see if you can beat me. As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed the crow on his back and flung it away. The bandage tied to the crow disintegrated instantly, and Kankuro's 10 fingers shot out chakra threads, which injected into the crow's body. The crow seemed to have been given life, standing in front of Kankuro with hideous eyes. Stop talking. Naruto gathered his chakra and went straight to the shadow clone technique. Boom. I saw a group of shadow clones appearing on the spot in an instant, and there were more than a dozen shadow clones standing around Naruto's main body. Come on. Naruto shouted, and all clones rushed directly to Kankuro and his crow. Seeing Naruto O2 using the most basic taijutsu to get close to him, Kankuro seemed to look down on Naruto. With this method, there will only be one more dead soul out of thin air under the hands of the crow. As soon as the words fell, the crow opened its mouth wide, and burst out extremely dense kunai from the mouth. Advertisement. This suffering progressed step by step, almost blocking all Uzumaki Naruto's escape routes. Seeing this scene, the avatar will directly stop in front of the main body, blocking most of the kunai. Meanwhile, Naruto dribbled out Rasengan behind, jumping up. Rasengan. Naruto shouted loudly, leapt high, and pressed a Rasengan on Kankuro's body. Damn it. Kankuro gritted his teeth as Rasengan bounced off the bitterness that was rushing towards Naruto. Die. Naruto yelled. At this moment, there was a sudden click on the crow. On his forearms, Purple's poisonous smoke diffused from the joints. Not good. Naruto hastily covered his nose, dodged backwards with a backflip, and at the same time squeezed the Rasengan in his hand. You used poison. You despicable bastard. And Kankuro seemed very indifferent, so what if you use poison? As a puppeteer, using poison is a science. Do you think I am like you? Trash. Naruto snorted coldly, his pupils suddenly turned into vertical pupils of a fox. Even the stripes on the face are more obvious. Among the crow's fragments, Kankuro's mouth was soaked with blood, and a strange light shone from his eyes. It was directly bounced off and nailed to a nearby tree. So fast. Advertisement. As this the nine tails would show. Hey. Kan Cheng suddenly became nervous, and turned his hand back in front of him. An ominous chakra permeated his body, and the body of the crow exploded suddenly. It turned into pieces. And the crow's head pulled by the Kankuro chakra line was also firmly held by Naruto. Cough. Kankuro closed his eyes tightly, and he used the crow fragments to block himself in front of him, as if he wanted to resist Naruto's next attack. Black secret technique. 6 main cuts. He roared, and his speed even exceeded Kankuro's imagination. The power of this punch made Kankuro hardly know what to say. As soon as the words fell, just as Kankuro was preparing to deal with Naruto's attack, he saw Naruto appearing directly behind him. I saw that the chakra on his body became extremely solid, even surpassing the imagination of ordinary people, and the intensity of the burst from it made Kankuro dumbfounded. How is it possible? Kankuro took out his last kunai, his eyes full of fear. Kankuro's eyes widened. Although I still can't use the full power of the tailed beast chakra, the current me is not comparable to you. HMPH. Stop talking. Naruto gritted his teeth, and with lightning speed, he threw out 6 kunai, which bounced off all the crow's limbs. But unexpectedly, Naruto did not continue to attack when the crow was crushed, but appeared directly behind Kankuro at an extremely fast speed. With a bang, it hit the crow's chest. Kankuro, you are dead. A strange light flashed in Naruto's eyes, and he crushed the crow's head with great force. Advertisement. Naruto smiled triumphantly, pouring 9 tails chakra into every acupuncture point of his body. Kankuro was slammed into the air, directly smashing a big tree in front of him. Don't underestimate the puppeteer. Kankuro yelled at the last moment, and saw rows of poisonous needles bounced off the crow's limbs instantly. How could it be? Could it be that this level of attack is really Naruto's power? Kankuro couldn't imagine that the opponent still had such power for a while, and saw that the poisonous needle he fired was in the tail of the burst. In front of the beast chakra, it was just like a kite with a broken string. Seeing the powder of the crow's head continuously flowing out from Naruto's fingers, Kankuro couldn't help but tremble all over, almost not daring to move his body half a step. Behind Naruto, one tail's tail beast coat gushes out of the body, so close, Kankuro can even hear the sound of liquid boiling from Naruto. Kankuro used the chakra line to pull the crow, and saw 6 huge blades popped out of the crow's torso, stabbing Uzumaki Naruto fiercely. The light scarlet color is like hair, lingering on Rasengan, adding a lot of strange killing intent to him. And the crow also opened its mouth wide, and a sharp blade popped out from it, stabbing the whirlpool Naruto from behind. What? By the time Kankuro realized it, Naruto had already punched Kankuro hard on the back. He gritted his teeth and used the chakra wire to manipulate the crow's still intact limbs, and looked at Naruto cautiously with an extremely reluctant smile. Even if you kill me, you can't get any benefit from Gaara. Rasengan. Naruto clenched the Rasengan in his hand. At this moment Rasengan was injected into 9 tails chakra, which looked even more terrifying. The 6 huge blades shattered inch by inch. Naruto burst open 3 tails tailed beast coat again. At this moment, it seemed that there was a huge fox's head erected behind him. Boom. In the process of attacking back and forth, Uzumaki Naruto gritted his teeth fiercely, and continuously absorbed the chakra of the tailed beast from the cracks in the loopholes. 977. Chapter 102 Violent Jinchuriki. 4 more. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Impossible. It's just a brat, how could it have such a powerful force? Kankuro's eyes widened, and he almost couldn't believe the scene in front of him. This Uzumaki Naruto actually suppressed himself in every aspect, which should be absolutely impossible in Kankuro's impression. If Konoha's genin is really so powerful, then what's the matter with me? HMPH. Uzumaki Naruto punched Kankuro hard in the face. Kankuro's cheeks were swollen, and he fell directly from the tall tree to the ground. My whole body was sore, and my head almost seemed to be broken. At this time, Shikamaru and a group of genin also rushed here. Hey Naruto, is this guy with a swollen face like a pig's head the one from Iwagakure? As soon as Shikamaru arrived at the scene, he directly controlled Kankuro with shadow imitation, and turned to Uzumaki Naruto and said. And Naruto also removed his tailed beast coat, heaved a sigh of relief, and felt a little dizzy. Naruto is also a little tired after motivating the tailed beast chakra twice in a row. Huh, this guy is the damn Iwagakure guy. And that Gaara and the guy with the fan, but boss and the others are after them. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue and Sasuke. Shikamaru frowned slightly, the two of them should be able to deal with this guy, but we still go to support them, as for you, go and catch this guy back. Naruto was stunned for a moment, then shook his head, no, I'll go talk to the boss, you take this guy back. Shikamaru looked at Naruto with some puzzlement, you have been fighting for so long, and you are probably tired now, why do you want to help Ye Shenyue and the others by yourself? HMPH. I must show the boss that I am stronger than Sasuke. Naruto clenched his fists and said to Shikamaru with a firm face. At this time, Shino also rushed over and said to Uzumaki Naruto, in this case, you go to support Naruto and the others. As for the puppet show, we will leave it to us. Okay, Naruto nodded, and then ran away in the direction Ye Shenyue left. Hey Naruto, come back alive. Shikamaru's face was dripping with cold sweat. Deep in the periphery of the leaves, Tamari carried Gaara on his shoulders, with a look of anxiety on his face. Gaara glanced at Tamari, trembling slightly. Is this the possession body? It seems interesting. Ye Shenyue narrowed his eyes slightly, and now he seems to know that the current opponent seems not so easy to deal with. And Gaara looked at the faces of the two people in front of him, and seemed to have finally given up rational thinking. I love asterisk laughed, he covered his cheeks, at this moment blue stripes appeared on his right body. Cough. Tamari flew out directly, and a bloody arrow flew out of his mouth. His voice became extremely hoarse, like a beast. Advertisement. And Sasuke himself just smiled, afraid of you. How is it possible? I am not afraid of existence like you. Oops, that guy has woken up. Tamari couldn't help but panic, if I wake up here, I can't deal with that guy alone. What should I do? In just a split second, he saw through Gaara's flaws, slammed Chidori, and directly tore away from his Shukaku arm. The people present only heard a loud bang, and the trees behind Sasuke were directly swept away, and Gaara's incomparably huge body was revealed amidst the agitation of smoke and dust. Swipe at Sasuke with an arm very similar to Shukaku. Tamari, let me go, Gaara said to Tamari, who was shaking all over his body now, and the severe headache made him almost unable to think rationally. Like a spreading blood vessel, it filled his right half of the body, and at the same time, an ominous chakra poured into Gaara's body. Gaara saw that the shot was missed, but turned around to look at Sasuke, showing a sinister smile, hee hee, ha ha ha. And Gaara also jumped over directly, and at the same time shouted frantically, Sasuke. Come and fight with me. His eyes were also full of malice. As soon as the words fell, the curse mark appeared on his body, and the curse mark of the first stage was directly attached to his body. The eyes are also full of violence, and the fangs in the mouth are sticking out. At this time, Sasuke and Ye Shenyue also appeared in front of Gaara. And Gaara seemed to be staring at Sasuke, jumped up directly, and jumped towards Sasuke with a huge body. Gaara covered her face. Although her face looked weak, she could still feel the killing intent in her eyes. Advertisement. The huge arm like a tree was also grabbed by the wolf towards Sasuke. Woo. Gaara groaned and knelt down on the ground. At the same time, the right half of his body almost turned into a small crane as if it was attached to his body. On one hand, Chidori kept humming. Sasuke sneered, and disappeared in place in an instant, rushing forward at an incomparable speed. So fast, so strong. Sasuke's Sharingan did not dare to stop, desperately analyzing Gaara's movements, and finally escaped the blow. You of the Uchiha clan. I must kill you and prove that I am still alive. But you now. Tamari just wanted to explain, when Gaara threw his arm on her body hard. She was hanging on a branch beside her, barely able to move her body without a trace of strength. Seeing Gaara's insane appearance, even Sasuke, who has a heart like Shisui, couldn't help complaining, is this guy a monster? Damn it, Kankuro couldn't stop them. Temari's eyes showed a trace of tension. What is this? Why does it look like Naruto? Sasuke's eyes widened, as if he still didn't understand the situation in front of him. Sure enough, this is the Jinchuriki who guards the crane. I really want to know what kind of strength you are now. Ye Shenyue drummed twice, and then the golden light flashed in his hand, and the golden light dagger appeared on him hands. Okay, Gaara gave a sinister smile, do you think I'm a monster? Sasuke, are you afraid of me? Sasuke looked at Gaara very strangely, but still said to him, although I don't know what you Sunagaku are up to, but I have to stop you. Gaara, we have caught up with you. Ye Shenyue said to Gaara with a faint smile. Chapter 103 is this TM Genin. Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I saw that Sasuke's Chidori directly cut Gaara's arm, and the intense electric light burned every inch of Gaara's skin. Gaara howled miserably, closed her eyes tightly and exposed her sharp teeth, as if she felt some severe pain. Death. Sasuke secretly made a murderous intention, and stabbed Chidori hard, directly on Gaara's chest. Boom. Gaara's body trembled, and he flew upside down, smashing several big trees in succession. Amidst the dust and smoke made of sawdust and gravel, Gaara slowly got up, and there seemed to be a hint of disbelief in his eyes. There was already a big hole in the clothes on his chest, and it was scorched black, with sand falling off from it constantly. Can the sand armor even block my Chidori? Sasuke was stunned. He has activated the curse mark now. If it can be blocked like this, then Gaara's sand armor is simply too pervert. But after seeing the bloody piece under the sand armor, Sasuke smiled confidently, that's all. Gaara's possessing body, the ordinary guarding crane arms have been scattered directly, turning into a piece of ghostly things that don't know what it is. And Gaara 567 sneered 3 times, haha, I finally know that this kind of pain is enough to make me feel that I am still alive. This guy is so happy after being beaten, is he pervert? Sasuke complained weakly. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue heard Sasuke's complaint and glanced at him, and couldn't help but smile, it seems that you have the potential to get close to me. Sasuke. And Temari was the most surprised. He looked at the blood dripping from Gaara's arm, and couldn't help but widen his eyes, it actually hurt Gaara. What is the origin of this guy? And she looked at Gaara, with more fear in her eyes, the real monster has not yet awakened, you must know that the current Gaara is only transformed with his right hand. However, in the next second, Shukaku's tail grew from Gaara's back, and the wound on his body was also healing at an extremely fast speed. This guy is like a beast. Gaara looked at Gaara, feeling unprecedented pressure. And Gaara's figure was also as fast as lightning, and he swept towards Uchiha Sasuke and Ye Shenyue ACFA, fiercely with a claw. Oops. Sasuke suddenly pushed away with Sharingan speed, squatted down on a tree not far away, and then his heart skipped a beat. I have Sharingan who can see through his attack to dodge this blow, but Ye Shenyue. Just when Sasuke was worried about Ye Shenyue, he saw an ellipsoidal light shield appearing in front of Ye Shenyue, enveloping Ye Shenyue's entire body. And Ye Shenyue squinted slightly, is it my turn to play with you now? This Gaara's attack was like a thunderous attack, and it hit Ye Shenyue's body, but it didn't embarrass Ye Shenyue too much, and the light shield firmly protected his surroundings. Even though the surrounding ground and trees collapsed directly, Ye Shenyue still stood firmly in place. Advertisement. You bastard. Before Gaara could scold him, he saw a kick towards Gaara at a very fast speed. Woo. Gaara sprayed a stream of blood from his throat, and the crane-shaped sand covering his body exploded continuously, as if he couldn't bear the sudden attack of this kick. His whole body seemed to be unstoppable, flying backwards towards the back continuously, exploding countless sands along the way. When Gaara fell to the ground, his body was already covered with shattered sand armor. When he stood up, countless blood seeped out from the cracks. But in Gaara's eyes, Ye Shen was dozens of meters away from him. With one kick, Gaara was sent flying dozens of meters away. As this human, Sasuke couldn't help but go soft. I always thought I was strong enough, but now it seems that this Gaara is stronger than myself. And Ye Shenyue patted the dust on his body, looked at Gaara in the distance, it seems that you are still not convinced, you little civet cat, do you want me to convince you? Temari looked at Gaara who was almost kicked to death by Ye Shenyue, and sat down on the ground in surprise, how is it possible? Gaara in that state may not be easily subdued by Teacher Baki. What kind of monster is this guy? Ye Shenyue sneered, his whole body turned into a flash of light, and then saw a golden light rushing directly in front of Gaara like lightning. You guy. Gaara looked at the guy who suddenly jumped in front of her, and before she could say anything more, she saw Ye Shenyue's knee hard on his chin. Oh. Gaara howled miserably, and her body was directly thrown out. And Ye Shenyue looked at Gaara, and also snorted coldly, forming seals with both hands, multiple shadow clone technique. As the smoke dissipated, countless Ye Shenyue avatars appeared around, jumping in midair. Advertisement. Seeing this jutsu, even Sasuke was a little surprised, this jutsu is a jutsu made by Kai Sui. I didn't expect that even Yagami can use it. Damn it, Mr. Kakashi didn't say that this is not ninjutsu, only ninjas who have the great Emperor Carrot can do it, do you use it? And Ye Shenyue sneered, and a layer of light was instantly connected between each clone. In an instant, a huge fishing net like a layer of gold fell over Gaara. Death. Ye Shenyue formed a seal with one hand, and instantly the huge gold spider web landed directly on top of Gaara's head. Every ray of light between the clones has the power like laser light. Damn it. Gaara's eyes tightened when she saw this scene. The chakra who guarded the crane spewed out from his body again, he let out a loud shout, and the whole forest seemed to be trembling. Countless sands rose directly from the ground, turned into a giant crane guarding hand, and pressed against Gaara's head. At this time, Gaara is also looking more and more like Shukaku, and it can even be said to be a small Shukaku. Seeing Gaara's eyes, Temari also trembled in his heart, the murderous look in those eyes, it's terrible. I saw that the heaven and earth net hit Shuhei's arm fiercely, and a dazzling light burst out. The surrounding sand flew out directly, as if it was going to overturn the world. The sand and dust exploded. Even the whole ground was cracked inch by inch. Is this the fight between Genin? Sasuke said in surprise. Chapter 104 Let's see whose tailed beast is better. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The smoke cleared. The whole forest seemed to be quiet. Gaara knelt on the ground with one knee, her body was constantly cracked. But at the same time, several spears formed from sand directly penetrated all of Ye Shenyue's clones. As the clone disappeared, Gaara let out a miserable laugh. The sky net just now almost directly penetrated Gaara's body. If it weren't for the protection of the crane, its own sand and the sand armor, Gaara might have been killed here directly. Not dead. Ye Shenyue's eyelids twitched. This guy is so resistant to beating. The sand slowly fell off Gaara's body, and similarly, new sand grew on his body again. The current Gaara is just like a mini show crane. At this time, Naruto also came here. Looking at the messy forest in front of him, his eyelids twitched. Boss, how did this place become like this? All the trees within a range of tens of meters were almost crushed, and now only Uchiha Sasuke, Ye Shenyue, and Temari are left intact. Even Gaara was covered in wounds. It's nothing, it's just us two genins fighting each other. Ye Shenyue raised his eyebrows slightly. Advertisement. Uzumaki Naruto looked helpless, but looking at the guy in front of him, he couldn't help but gasped. Damn, who is this monster? Has the raccoon become a spirit? At this moment, Gaara has almost turned into a small Shukuru, and Uzumaki Naruto can hardly recognize this person at all. Idiot, this guy is Gaara. Sasuke glanced at him, and then said, I may not be able to deal with this guy now. Damn, the power of the curse mark is almost exhausted when dealing with Orochimaru. Naruto also scratched his head. My tail beast chakra was almost exhausted when I was dealing with Kankuro. How do I fight this guy now? Just look at mine. Ye Shenyue glanced at the two of them, and then started to do radio gymnastics on his own. Gaara chuckled, looked at the three people in front of him, and said, you three are just a clown, now I want to see what kind of skills you have to deal with me. But as soon as the words fell, he trembled all over and fell to the ground. What's going on? Is this guy dead? Naruto was taken aback, as if he still hadn't guessed what was going on. And only Temari understood, is that guy going to wake up? HMPH. Just leave it to me. Naruto snorted coldly, and after using the shadow clone to create a Rasengan, he rushed directly to Gaara. Hey, don't mess around, idiot. Sasuke yelled to Naruto hastily. But Naruto ignored Sasuke at all, just snorted coldly, and then a Rasengan smashed hard at Gaara. Just the next second, there was a loud bang. Gaara's entire body turned into a giant shrine crane. Now Gaara has reached the full body of Sho. The Shuhei, which is tens of meters high. Under this, Ye Shenyue and others are like ants. Advertisement. And Naruto's whole body was directly thrown out. Woo. Naruto howled miserably, and his whole body fell to the ground in an instant, almost falling apart. Ye Shenyue squinted at Shuhei, scratched his face. Why did you let this guy become a full body? It's a bit troublesome. Cracks were seen inch by inch on the bare wall, and Ye Shenyue took a deep breath. Naruto sat on the ground, rubbed his butt, and said unwillingly, this guy is so big. Is Gaara still hiding in it? And suddenly, above Shuhei's body, a figure jumped out directly. Zero seeking flowers 00. At this moment, Gaara said slowly, fake sleep technique. Damn it, let's not talk about that, we must not let him fall asleep. Sasuke suddenly threw out two shurikens. Shouted in a sharp and irritable voice, ha ha ha, my uncle finally woke up. It almost hit the three of them. What the hell is this? The chakra on him looks so strong. Sasuke's eyes widened, not knowing what to say. Before the shurikens touched Gaara, a gust of wind blew them crooked in an instant. 0. And when the empty bullet hit the light wall, Ye Shenyue also felt a long-lost pressure. I saw that this air was compressed by Shuhei like a missile, and it directly charged towards Ye Shenyue and others fiercely. Wind-style practice blank bullets. I saw Gaara appearing on Shuhei's chest, and his hands slowly formed seals. He's going to use the doze technique. If he falls asleep, Shukaku will gain consciousness, and then we'll have to deal with the tailed beast. Advertisement. You want to kill us. You really think too much, you little civet cat. Ye Shenyue narrowed her eyes slightly. And Shuhei took a deep breath, and then directly sprayed it out. In an instant, Shuhei immediately became agitated. Then, the head drooped directly. Ye Shenyue sneered, and put one hand directly on Uzumaki Naruto's belly behind his back, with a smirk on his face. You have a tailed beast, so do we. Let's see whose tailed beast is more awesome. Ye Shenyue looked at the two people on the side and reminded. This huge wall of light was even pushed back by 4 or 5 meters. Then he looked at Ye Shenyue and the others, and snorted coldly, I really saw the person I wanted to kill as soon as I woke up. Is it really so difficult? Ye Shenyue narrowed his eyes slightly, and he still didn't seem to think that this Temari would interrupt him at this time. Simply, finally withstood this blow. I saw a huge wall of light directly blocking the front of the three of them, dazzling like the sun. You bastard, now that we have made such a big sacrifice, can you interrupt us? Temari snorted coldly, a trace of unforgettable murder flickered in his eyes. What? Sasuke turned around and saw Temari standing beside him holding a fan, with a sneer on his face. Is this the tailed beast? Ye Shenyue narrowed his eyes slightly. He pressed his hands to the ground, and the ability of the sparkling fruit was immediately activated to ultimate. Tail beast. Naruto's eyes widened. Is it the same as the 9 tails in me? It looks so strong like that. It's interesting. You 3 brats. You can resist my master's move. Shuhei sneered and looked at Ye Shenyue and the others, but I won't let you go. Ye Shenyue narrowed his eyes slightly. We want to deal with this guy as quickly as possible. After all, this bastard is really difficult to deal with. All the trees along the way were directly destroyed and turned into sawdust. Its power is even more terrifying than the sparkling fruit that Ye Shenyue used just now. Chapter 105. Even Shuhei can't stop it. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Naruto was taken aback, looked at Ye Shenyue, and asked in doubt, Boss, what do you want to do? Ye Shenyue smiled and said, Unlock your seal, now I want to see who is stronger between you and him. Unlock the seal. Boss, didn't you say that I can't completely unlock the seal? Naruto said with reluctance on his face, I will die. Ye Shenyue shook his head, I won't completely untie it, but you will be the main force in a while. You have to wake up that Gaara before this guy can disappear, understand? Uzumaki Naruto had no choice but to nod, gritted his teeth and said, "Come on boss, I'm ready." Ye Shenyue grabbed his stomach directly with one hand, and the seal on his stomach was gradually revealed at this moment. Solution. Ye Shenyue made a seal with one hand and shouted loudly. I saw Uzumaki Naruto trembling slightly, and then, August 17th, a large amount of chakra spewed out from the gap in the seal. The endless chakra shot straight into the sky, forming a giant fox head behind Uzumaki Naruto. Behind the six paths tail, like a long dragon, stuck behind Uzumaki Naruto's back, constantly flickering. Be sure to work hard. Naruto. Ye Shenyue gritted her teeth. At this moment, a terrifying murderous intent exploded in Naruto's eyes, and he broke free from Ye Shenyue's arm. But Ye Shenyue still did not dare to let go of the seal with one hand, and there was still a golden light on Naruto's stomach, and this golden light was exactly the sealing technique left by Ye Shenyue. If Naruto really can't control it for a while, he can only undo Ye Shenyue's seal in advance. Sasuke, you also go to support Naruto. Ye Shenyue ordered. Sasuke pointed to himself and said, my chakra is running out, can I do it? Advertisement. Nonsense. When you beat Orochimaru, I know how long you cast the curse seal. If you don't go, I will kick you, Ye Shenyue said viciously. Sasuke sighed, Sharingan rotated slowly, and chakra with the curse mark on his body was also gradually activated. Soon, his whole body turned gray, and huge wings grew from his back. Chidori, Sasuke yelled angrily, stabbing a Chidori hard on Shuzuru's body. Shutsuru let out a muffled snort, and just about to slap Sasuke to death with his paw, he saw Naruto jump on his face. Now Naruto has lost consciousness, and the whole person has become extremely violent. The rich chakra on his body was still surging, directly enveloping his entire body. He turned into a scarlet all over, with 6 tails blooming on his back. It's that stinky fox's chakra. This brat is. Shuhei widened his eyes, never expecting to run into 9 tails Jinchuriki here. Death. Naruto roared in a hoarse and dry voice, and then punched Shuhei directly. Woo. Shuhei howled miserably, and took half a step back. Damn kid, you can't kill me now. He snorted coldly, and slapped himself hard on the stomach. Wind-style practice blank bullets. I saw a stream of condensed air hitting Naruto like a cannonball. But Naruto's current vigilance is beyond Shukaku's imagination, he is like a scarlet lightning, directly circling behind Shukaku. Then he punched Shuhei hard on the back. Advertisement. Ah woo. Shuhei staggered a few steps forward again, a trace of fear appeared in his eyes, it's too fast. And in this state, I can't even use my full strength. It's so annoying. And Ye Shenyue looked at Shuhei and smiled lightly, you are only in a state of complete dependence now, and it would be good if you can display more than half of your original strength. In front of Naruto and Sasuke, you are just a victim. Quote. Damn it, Shuhei snorted coldly, and directly slapped Naruto's chest hard. Naruto let out a cold snort, and was directly knocked back and hit the ground, but he still grabbed Shukaku's arm tightly, and several tailed beasts' chakra were also entwined, like a rope. Damn it, this damn guy, Shuhei gritted his teeth. Chidori. Seeing this, Sasuke waved his wings, took out the Chidori and rushed forward, preparing a Chidori to cut off Shuzuru's arm directly. Unexpectedly, Naruto opened his mouth wide, and the tailed beast chakra gathered together, and then blasted out directly. The beam of scarlet light directly exploded on Shuhei's arm. The smoke and dust are surging. The air waves are circling. Sasuke was almost blasted into scum by this beast cannon. If he hadn't had Sharingan to predict Naruto's action in advance, he might be a corpse now. This guy, what are you doing? Do you want to smash me into dust? Sasuke gritted his teeth. And Ye Shenyue frowned slightly. Now Naruto has lost consciousness, but it's still under my control, you just try to cooperate with him, but if he accidentally beats him to death, don't blame me. Quote. Ye Shenyue felt a little sorry for Sasuke, paused, and continued, but don't worry. At that time, my old man Sarutobi in the city will apply for a martyr status for you. Damn it, it depends on me to revitalize the Uchiha clan. I can't die here. Sasuke gritted his teeth and immediately backed away. And the arm of this crane was also directly blasted off by Naruto's tail beast cannon. Advertisement. It turned into a large beach of sand and flowed on the ground. You actually hurt my uncle. This uncle is angry. Shuhei gritted his teeth, and took a deep breath with one hand in the mudra. Now he is just a possession body and not the main body, and the broken arm cannot kill him directly. Sasuke, you are fast, hurry up and wake up Gaara. Ye Shenyue ordered. Sasuke nodded, fluttering his wings again and rushed towards Gaara. My speed is very fast in the state of Curse Seal too. I must wake up Gaara quickly. Sasuke clenched his fists at this thought, and Sharingan stared at Shuhei's every move. However, he saw a scarlet flash 1.3 blocking in front of him. Just now Uzumaki Naruto directly used the tail beast chakra as an arm, and pressed it hard on the ground. Launched his body directly like a slingshot. This guy, do you want to kill me? Sasuke was shocked and hurriedly stopped his body. Then I saw Uzumaki Naruto punch Gaara directly in the face. Bang! Gaara's eyes widened and she let out a howl. At this moment, as Gaara wakes up, Shuhei gradually disappears. Gaara fell to the ground, gritted her teeth, and her eyes were full of unwillingness. Can't even Shukaku stop you. Gaara got up and looked at Naruto in front of him, also stunned. Why is the chakra on this guy? Why so scary? It's like an enhanced version of Shukaku. Chapter 106 He is also a monster. Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Gaara turned over with difficulty, like a salted fish turning over. The current him, his eyes full of decadence, he bit his own lip, and blood slowly flowed from the corner of his mouth. How is it possible? Why are you so powerful? Obviously I have more reason to fight. Gaara said unwillingly, but he didn't expect that a face covered by black-red chakra, with almost invisible facial features, was directly attached to his nose. What's going on? Gaara didn't seem to understand what the current situation of Naruto is like. Bunch. At this moment, Ye Shenyue didn't dare to hesitate too much, she clenched her fingers and said through gritted teeth. Immediately, countless golden lights shot out from Naruto's belly, directly covering Naruto's whole body. Roads of golden light, like gold chains, directly bound Naruto's body. Ah! From Naruto's throat, there was a horrible howl, but it didn't sound like a human being at all, but a complete beast. Sasuke looked at Naruto, who was struggling now, and fell to the side of Ye Shenyue, and asked doubtfully, what kind of O2 situation is Naruto now? Such a state unexpectedly appeared. And Ye Shenyue narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, it's a bit difficult. The unraveling of this seal is too outrageous. It will still be difficult to completely seal it in a while. What Ye Shenyue said is true. When the tail beast chakra was untied to 6 tails, the ordinary Jonin could hardly stop the current Naruto. And Naruto's constant struggle created a chakra storm that swept everything around him. Under the smoke and dust, Gaara looked at Naruto with a confused face, is this guy such a monster? And the orangutan red chakra spread out from Naruto's body, which turned into several arms, holding the golden light on his body. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Ye Shenyue hissed and took a breath. Then he looked at Sasuke with an extremely strange look, and said to him, go and stun Naruto. This look seemed to be Gao Jianli watching Jinkai go away by Yishui. Sasuke shuddered, what are you kidding? Let me stop Naruto. Ye Shenyue nodded. Sasuke was silent for a moment, hesitantly said, then I will try. After all, Sharingan has the ability to see through all movements. Sasuke gritted his teeth and rushed towards Naruto. Naruto, be obedient, Sasuke said viciously, and Naruto, who ran away, looked at Sasuke, and Chakra was restless again. He opened his mouth wide, and blasted out with a tail beast cannon. A beam of scarlet light shot out from his mouth. And Sasuke could barely escape the blow with his super fast speed. There was cold sweat on his forehead, he almost never dreamed that Naruto's strength was so amazing. But when I turned my head, I saw that the woods behind me had turned into a piece of coke. Ye Shenyue, do you want to kill me? Sasuke said through gritted teeth. He couldn't believe that this Ye Shenyue was so relieved that he rushed forward. Naruto's tail beast chakra was leaked too seriously. Without me, the seal might be even stronger than it is now. You should be grateful to Dade. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, he used the tail beast chakra without authorization before, which loosened the seal. Don't blame me. Advertisement. After all, you let out a loud shout again, and this Schwanren was directly tied together by the golden light. Seeing that Naruto couldn't struggle, Sasuke also seized the opportunity and summoned Chidori through the mudra with both hands. Chidori. Sasuke yelled loudly, and the pitch-black Chidori integrated into the spell chakra directly inserted into the weight of Uzumaki Naruto's body. Just for an instant, this Chidori just went straight through Uzumaki Naruto's body. But Sasuke felt that his hand was inserted into the tail beast chakra outside of Naruto's body, as if he was stuck in the mud, almost unable to pull it out. When Sasuke pulled out his hand, he could only see Naruto trembling all over, and then the tail beast chakra on his body gradually retracted into the seal. Only a few parts remained, staying on the wound and gradually repairing the wound. It seems that Nine Tails is also afraid of Naruto's death, so they dare not mess around. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, walked to Naruto's side, and strengthened Naruto's seal. It seems that Naruto can't be messed around in the future, it's too excited. Ye Shenyue gritted her teeth and said. Sasuke lifted the cursed seal, and also lay on the ground, panting heavily. And Temari hugged Gaara directly and disappeared in place. Let him go. Sasuke looked at Ye Shenyue with a puzzled face. And Ye Shenyue smiled lightly. It doesn't matter if this Gaara walks away now, the previous Gaara is about to become Shukaku, if you don't stop him, there will definitely be a big loss. Now that Gaara is no longer a threat, it doesn't matter if you let him go. Besides, Konoha and Sand Shinobi still have a chance to mend their relationship. It can be said that everything has nothing to do with me. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue looked at Sasuke with a look of indifference, so what can I do if I let him go? The most urgent thing now is to go home and sleep. He narrowed his eyes slightly, a little tired. The previous battle and sealing Naruto also cost him a lot of strength, so he will not be able to fight like this in the future. Kill. At this moment, Aburame Shino and others also rushed to the scene. Seeing the mess around them and Naruto lying unconscious on the ground, they were a little surprised. 570. Shikamaru frowned and asked, Ye Shenyue, where's Gaara? Then he kept looking at Naruto, as if he was very worried about Naruto. Ye Shenyue shook his head slowly, he's gone, but it's a good thing he's gone, as for Naruto, there's nothing wrong. He stood up and stretched his muscles and bones, looked at the people in front of him and said, now Sunagaku's people are all gone, as for Orochimaru is also retreating, Konoha didn't have much loss, this is a good thing, isn't it? That's right, Shikamaru sighed, in that case, let's hurry back to Konoha. Within the leaves, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was sitting in a wheelchair, kept praising Ye Shenyue and Sasuke to all the Jonin, making Kakashi embarrassed. As for Ye Shenyue, she looked helpless, she didn't expect so many things to come back. Ye Shenyue and Sasuke, the two of you did a great job in this battle. Especially Ye Shenyue, you are now qualified to be a Chunin. Sarutobi Hiruzen said excitedly, I personally approve you to become a Chunin. Wait, Ye Shenyue shivered, being a Chunin has to take part in a lot of troublesome tasks. I don't want to be a Chunin. With a miserable howl, he instantly turned into a flash of light and disappeared in place. Chapter 107 Uchiha Itachi. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Outside Iwagakure. Baki and all the Iwagakure ninjas were dumbfounded. I saw a few corpses lying in a deep pit, and it seemed that they had been decomposing for a while. One of the corpses was still wearing Hokage's clothes. Baki looked serious. These people are Kazekage-sama and his guards. The other ninja nodded. Looks dead for a long time, at least before the Chunin exam. Boom. Baki smashed a rock beside him with a hard punch, with an angry look on his face. Damn. Tricked. Damn Orochimaru. At this time, he finally confirmed the conjecture in his heart. The whole of Iwagakure has become because of the plaything. From start to finish, the only one that didn't lose anything was Orochimaru. The war is about to start now. We have to surrender to Konoha to prevent the situation from escalating. Baki gritted his teeth. All the ninjas around were reluctant, but in the face of the big situation, they naturally knew what was right and what was wrong. Yes. 3 days later, Ye Shenyue sat by the river and read the newspaper in her hand. Sunagakure announced that the collapse of Konoha was controlled by Orochimaru alone. At the same time, Sunagakure fully surrendered to Konoha village, and the two villages reunited. Listening and listening, Ye Shenyue was speechless. Advertisement. What nonsense news, this kind of thing can make headlines. He threw the newspaper into the river and devoted himself to fishing. And Naruto, whose face was covered with bandages, squatted aside and sighed. I didn't expect that I didn't become a Chunin this time. Damn it, I must learn from you, boss. Shut up. The black line on Ye Shenyue's face, he became a Chunin directly in this Chunin exam, even Shikamaru didn't become a Chunin. But Chunin is a burden to Ye Shenyue. At this time, footsteps sounded from behind the two of them. Ye Shenyue turned her head slightly, and saw two people standing behind Ye Shenyue and Naruto. Those two people were wearing red cloud robes and bamboo hats, and covered their faces with white cloth, so they couldn't see their faces clearly. Ye Shenyue raised her eyebrows. Ask for directions or buy fish. Ye Shenyue looked at Kisame and Uchiha Itachi and said lightly. Uchiha Itachi narrowed his eyes slightly. Originally he thought that Sasuke would be near Ye Shenyue, but now it seems that he may have miscalculated. Buy fish. Uchiha Itachi specifically said to Ye Shenyue in a hoarse voice. He was confident that he would not be recognized by Ye Shenyue. But how could this escape Ye Shenyue's eyes? Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, and looked at Uchiha Itachi dissatisfied. Small sample. After so many years, I finally saw this uncle. He still covered his face like a big girl with yellow flowers. He was instantly out of breath. Too early. No fish. Is that so? Uchiha Itachi smiled awkwardly. Dried persimmon ghost shark said dissatisfied. Since there are no fish, what is in your fish basket? Ye Shenyue lowered his head and looked into his fish basket, where 8 big fish kept opening their mouths. Advertisement. This is a sample, not for sale. You. Dried persimmon ghost's eyelids twitched. Where can I find fish and samples? We asked for directions. Uchiha Itachi said again, how to get to Konoha village. Ye Shenyue glanced at Uchiha Itachi with suspicion on his face. You have stayed in Konoha for so many years, and this Konoha is like your back garden. Do you still need to ask for directions? Walk with your legs. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, and kicked the fish basket into the river. Understood. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, and sent Jiraiya out of Hokage's office. Asuma felt very familiar when she heard this voice, but couldn't remember who it was for a while. After listening, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not refute, but just sighed. Yeah. I'm old. I can't sit in the position of Hokage anymore. And standing next to him looking out the window is Jiraiya. Uchiha Itachi shook his head slowly. There's no need, we'd better find Nine Tails first. With a cigarette in his mouth, Sarutobi Asuma questioned the two of them cautiously. Long time no see, Asuma. Uchiha Itachi looked at Asuma and said politely. But Jiraiya shook her head like a rattle. Impossible. Impossible. I am absolutely not suitable for this position. Sarutobi Asi, Zhao Li Zhao, Ma and Shi Hahong patrolled the periphery of Konoha. Since you said Sanin, there is obviously another person. It is Tsunade. Jiraiya smiled confidently. Jiraiya nodded. Now every neighboring country may take bolder actions. Before that, we must have a trustworthy strong leader. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed very puzzled, and said to Jiraiya, but your identity, but one of the Sanin, who else is more suitable for this position except you? It's just that the dried persimmon and ghost shark haven't found it yet. After watching all the fish swim back into the river, he put away the Myriad Realms fishing rod and left here directly with Uzumaki Naruto. Advertisement. Are you recommending yourself? Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. After the battle, Sarutobi Hiruzen still hadn't regained his strength. Sitting on the wheelchair, he seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. Tsunade. Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked his beard, but her whereabouts are very irregular. How do I know where he is? Seeing the backs of the two leaving, Genshi Guishui snorted coldly. This guy, I really want to kill him. The periphery of the leaves. Uchiha Itachi didn't speak, but gradually raised his bamboo hat. These two people were wearing red cloud robes, and their faces were wrapped in white cloth, so they couldn't see their faces clearly. Jiraiya turned around and glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen, her eyebrows slightly tightened. Teacher, you are old. Suddenly, two people walked slowly in front of them. In the Hokage building, and suddenly, the two of them stopped in front of Sarutobi Asuma and Yuhihong. Inside Konoha village, I saw a pair of Sharingan, staring firmly at Sarutobi Asuma's eyes. After the previous collapse battle, the Konoha was in tatters. In order to prevent foreign enemies from attacking at this time, the two Jonin also patrolled here. That being said, Uchiha Itachi already knew that Uzumaki Naruto who was following Ye Shenyue was Jinchuriki from Nine Tails. Jiraiya turned around. I can find her. But in the meantime, I still want you to continue as Hokage. In his eyes, Jiraiya is indeed a good leader. Aren't you two from this village? What are you doing here? If you hadn't helped the village a few days ago, I wouldn't have known you had come back. Sarutobi Hiruzen said to Jiraiya with a chuckle. Hurry up. Uchiha Itachi ignored Kisame, but walked slowly in the direction Ye Shenyue left. Hoshigaki Kisame licked his lips, looked at Samahata on his back, and there was a trace of heat in his eyes. It's just that the shark muscles may be hungry. Chapter 108. We are only interested in 9 tails. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Asuma and Hong were taken aback for a moment, then saw Itachi slowly take it out of his pocket. Seeing that the stranger standing in front of him turned out to be Itachi, Asuma smiled with a cigarette butt in his mouth. It really is you. Itachi, how dare you come here after what happened? Asuma also didn't seem to expect that Uchiha Itachi would return to Konoha at this special time. Fortunately, if he hadn't been patrolling here, maybe Itachi really got in. Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Asuma, and also took off his hat, revealing his pale blue skin. Since you two know each other, let me introduce myself too. My name is Kisame Kisame. And Hong seemed to recognize Ganshi Kisame, squinting at him and said, I know you. You are also an S-rank rebel from the Kingdom of Water. Asuma also said, since you two S-rank traitors are here, I must kill you. Itachi frowned slightly. He didn't want to waste time on these two people. With a cold voice, he said to the two, Asuma, Hong, I hope you leave me alone, and I don't want to do anything to you either. Asuma was a little surprised. This man killed his own family, never thought that he would say such a thing now. He pointed to Itachi and said, you came here dressed like this, I don't think you may have any purpose. After all, a trace of killing intent rose in his eyes. Kisame looked at Uchiha Itachi at the side, and asked, let me kill him, how about that? Uchiha Itachi just shook his head slightly, although they won't let us leave obediently like this, but if you want to do it, the movement is too loud, so be careful. Kisame let out a cold snort, grabbed the shark muscles on his back, and smashed hard at Asuma. Asuma raised his eyes and saw that Kisame made a move, raised up kunai, and healed him directly in front of him. Advertisement. But unexpectedly, the strength of this Hoshigaki Kisame was so terrifying, Asuma's hand was shaken suddenly, kunai directly pulled out his hand, and even Samahata hit Asuma's shoulder. Damn, this guy is too strong. I didn't expect this guy to have a hand. Asuma grabbed his shoulders and stepped back abruptly. And Uchiha Itachi looked at the two of them with a calm expression on his face. Suddenly, a big tree grew up behind him, and then Hong's body jumped out of the tree, locking his hands towards Uchiha Itachi's throat. Magic tree bound kill, and the next second, among the red Uchiha Itachi stood in front of him, but he was tightly entangled by the branches. Bounce the illusion, as expected of Uchiha Itachi. Hong was a little shocked, and Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan swept over Hong's body, and said softly, you will not be my opponent, you don't seem to understand this, so it seems that you are really a bit terrible. He raised kunai, ready to go to the red thorn. Although he didn't intend to kill, his movement still looked clean. Next second, Ye Shenyue. Hong recognized Ye Shenyue and asked in surprise, why are you here? And beside him, there was still a person standing. Wiping the rainwater off his cheeks with his fingers, he said, it's really an interesting kid. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue let out a loud cry, and a golden beam of light rushed out of Ye Shenyue's hand, carrying an astonishingly terrifying power, hitting the dumpling bomb in an instant. Kisame picked up the shark muscles and stood beside Uchiha Itachi, saying to himself, it's just a little ghost. Are you scared? A trace of sweat fell on his cheeks. The strength of these two people is not that simple. It looked like it was raining. This guy, he wasn't such a troublesome person before. Uchiha Itachi narrowed his eyes slightly. Hoshigaki Kisame saw Kakashi's Sharingan, and seemed to think of something. Are you the Hoshigaki Kisame who fought against Zabuchi? Then it seems that you are indeed a man worth cutting. After all, he saves his own broadsword Samahata. The surrounding water instantly rolled together, turning into a huge shark-shaped water bomb, rushing towards Asuma. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of everyone again. Uchiha Acef Itachi glanced at Kisame and said, this guy's blood succession limit is very strange, don't be careless. Water-style ninja, it's a little troublesome. Asuma narrowed his eyes slightly. But the dried persimmon ghost shark saw this scene, but the corners of his mouth rose slightly. As soon as the words fell, the dried persimmon ghost screamed, his eyes widened, water-style. Dumpling bomb technique. It seems that the most difficult opponent in the eyes of Hoshigaki Kisame is Sarutobi Asuma. But at this moment, Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, his hands gathered together, and a ray of light directly gathered on his palm. Purpose. Hoshigaki Kisame's eyes became stern, he was still very interested in Nine Tails. Advertisement. Who? Itachi hurriedly covered his eyes, and when he opened them, Hong was already standing not far away. No matter what he said now, he didn't want to start a business here. Fighting against him will definitely be endless. At that time, other ninjas will definitely be dragged over. Don't forget our purpose. This huge shark-shaped water bomb was directly exploded abruptly, floated into the air, and turned into water droplets and landed on the ground. Bang! I saw that Kakashi directly opened the Sharingan and stopped in front of Ye Shenyue. He put the Samahata on the ground, looked at Ye Shenyue carefully. This kid, with thin skin and tender meat, probably tastes very good. Looking at Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, he squinted his eyes slightly. I didn't expect it to be Uchiha Itachi and Kurigaku's weird Hoshigaki Kisame. It's a bit troublesome. Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly, looked at Hoshigaki Kisame, and said, don't mess around. Laser cannon. There was a loud noise, and the surrounding ground seemed to be trembling slightly. It's just that dried persimmon ghost shark formed seals with both hands, and the surrounding water instantly swept together. Anyway, just kill them all. Ye Shenyue flicked the dust off his clothes, and said, I was fishing just now, and suddenly I felt that these two people were weird, so I asked Naruto to call Kakashi first. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be Uchiha Itachi. Having said that, he still has no intention of killing Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, he was still bitter about Uchiha Itachi not saying hello to him. This beam of light directly penetrated the water shark bomb, and then was torn apart from the inside of the dumpling bomb. A golden light exploded directly in front of Itachi. Chapter 109. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. And Kakashi was also very interested in the purpose of the two of them, tilted his head, and kept staring at Uchiha Itachi with dead fish eyes. Tell me about your purpose. What is the purpose of coming back here? Uchiha Itachi turned slowly, turned his head slightly, and said to Kakashi, we came here just to find something. Looking for something. Kakashi was a little confused. What else is there for Kakashi to look for in Konoha? It's just nonsense. The former residence of the Uchiha clan is empty, and there is even no value worth searching for. I am afraid that the only one that is considered a relic of the Uchiha clan is Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi snorted coldly, and a shuriken suddenly appeared in his hand. Kakashi's eyelids jumped. You know, Uchiha Itachi's shuriken can be said to be superb, like a ghost. Water style. Water barrier. Kakashi hastily formed a seal, and he was still a little secretly happy at this moment. Fortunately, he had a Sharingan that could see through Uchiha Itachi's movements, otherwise it would be difficult for him. However, in the next second, the Radao water column directly rushed to Kakashi's body. Kakashi let out a muffled grunt, and with the power of water style, he backed up directly, and after somersaulting, he half squatted and stood on the surface of the water. At this time, his eyes were filled with a trace of horror. As expected of Uchiha Itachi, he pretended to attack me with a shuriken, but he secretly formed a seal and attacked me with water style. The speed of this seal is really too fast. Kakashi was a little surprised. Advertisement. And Uchiha Itachi smiled lightly. As expected of Kakashi, this insight is really different. Hearing Uchiha Itachi's praise, before Kakashi had time to react, he saw Uchiha Itachi appearing directly behind his back, and pinched Kakashi's waist with kunai. It's amazing. As soon as the words fell, Kuwu stabbed, and with a puff, a stream of blood spattered. Ye Shenyue on the side raised his eyebrows. I actually used my avatar to get close to Mr. Kakashi. The speed of this seal is so fast, it's hard to guard against. The current Ye Shenyue has no interest in fighting Uchiha Itachi, this guy is really too troublesome. However, there was a sound of splashing water, and Kakashi's body turned into a pool of clear water. At this time, Hong also jumped behind Uchiha Itachi, took out kunai, and said proudly, as expected of Kakashi. However, in the next second, Kakashi threw Hong aside, be careful. I saw Uchiha Itachi in front of Hong, and it exploded. A burst of smoke and dust engulfed the thick fog, directly blasting and splashing the river in an instant. As the water continuously washed the surroundings, Hong was also blown back a few steps. But Kakashi's back was scorched black. The one just now turned out to be the shadow clone, and even detonated the shadow clone. Kakashi panted heavily, showing lingering fear. This guy, who became Captain Anbu at the age of 13, really doesn't look so good now dealt with. And Uchiha Itachi smiled lightly. Kakashi, if you don't have those eyes, you can't hide them. Afterwards, he paused. I'm not from the Uchiha tribe, but I can develop the Sharingan to such an extent, it's beyond my imagination, but your body is not from my Uchiha tribe, so these eyes are not suitable for you at all. Quote. Advertisement. Kakashi looked serious. That's right, chakra is not enough. Using Sharingan can be said to consume a lot of chakra, and now Kakashi doesn't have so much chakra to squander. In Uchiha's eyes, the three Tomo Sharingan spun rapidly, and in just a moment, it changed into the appearance of Mangekyo. Seeing this scene, Kakashi seemed to have noticed something. He hurriedly greeted Asuma and Hong around and said, don't look into his eyes. Asuma and Hong hurriedly closed their eyes, not daring to take a second look. And Kakashi only used a Sharingan to look at the opponent. Maybe only Sharingan can fight against his eyes. You must not open your eyes, or you will surely die. Both Asuma and Hong are battle-tested Jonin, so they naturally know that Kakashi's words are not child's play. Uchiha Itachi opened his mouth slightly, as if he wanted to say something. But saw a flash of light. This ninjutsu is Ye Shenyue. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, rushed out, and said, it's really troublesome. Just don't look into his eyes. Why bother? 0. Ask for flowers. Uchiha Itachi's Tsukuyomi is pupil technique, that is to say, it can only be performed with the help of eyes. But he didn't look directly into Uchiha Itachi's eyes, so Uchiha Itachi naturally had nothing to do with him. Uchiha Itachi said softly, that's right, but even a battle-hardened taijutsu veteran can do this, and you're just a brat now. Just as he finished speaking, he saw Ye Shenyue rushing out suddenly, the killing intent in his eyes became more and more intense. Advertisement. At this time, Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly. The next moment, Uchiha Itachi and Ye Shenyue looked at each other. Kakashi exclaimed, unexpectedly, Ye Shenyue was going to be tricked. But only for a moment, Uchiha Itachi smiled lightly, is it just a clone? The next moment, in the river, a pair of hands directly grabbed Uchiha Itachi's legs. I saw another clone of Ye Shenyue controlled Uchiha Itachi, and Ye Shenyue's main body jumped into the air, clasping his hands together. A ray of light suddenly condensed from his palm, and shot towards Uchiha Itachi. At this moment, the shining golden laser light, like a beam of light, rushed directly to Uchiha Itachi. Seeing the beam of light rushing toward him in the midair, Uchiha Itachi snorted coldly. The speed at which he formed the seal with his hands was almost impossible to guess, whether he really formed the seal or not. Kakashi, who saw Uchiha Itachi's sealing action for the first time, was also surprised and said, I didn't expect that this Uchiha Itachi has already mastered the great fireball to this level. The next moment, a flame spewed out from Uchiha Itachi's mouth. Although it was just a great fireball, it looked like it had gathered into a sea of flames. It collided with Ye Shenyue's beam of light suddenly. Boom. The flames were directly swept away by the beam of light, and powerful arcs of fire rolled together like a fire tornado. As the sparks flew, Uchiha Itachi broke away from the control of Ye Shenyue's avatar at some point, and stood on the side of the river, with a trace of solemnity in his eyes. You brat, you're a bit powerful. Uchiha Itachi frowned tightly, still unable to believe that the current Ye Shenyue still has such strength. Chapter 110. No one can see through this ninjutsu. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Uchiha Itachi also had a little curiosity about Ye Shenyue's strength at this time. Your strength is not like that of an ordinary genin. Even if I was back then, it might be difficult to surpass you. Uchiha Itachi said slowly. Kisame looked at Uchiha Itachi not far away, and seemed to be a little curious. Mr. Itachi, what is the origin of this kid? Even I can't see through his ninjutsu. After finishing speaking, Kisame couldn't help but look at Ye Shenyue again, showing a curious look. It's just a war orphan, but his blood succession limit is very powerful, and now it seems that his potential is not even lower than that of Jung Zibo. Uchiha Itachi said softly. This evaluation seemed full of gold in Uchiha Itachi's mouth. Ye Shenyue smiled gently. Anyway, thank you for your compliment. Seeing that, 160 saw that Ye Shenyue was fine, Kakashi also sighed in relief, then raised his head to look at Uchiha Itachi, and said doubtfully, why did you come to Konoha? It seems that there is no so simple. Uchiha Itachi snorted coldly, and said in an indifferent tone, it's just to find the legacy of the fourth Hokage. After all, Uzumaki Naruto's face flashed in his mind. He didn't tell Hoshigaki Kisame before that person is Jinchuriki from Nine Tails. Uchiha Itachi still has selfish intentions. Suddenly, a picture flashed in Kakashi's mind. He looked at Uchiha Itachi, and said word by word, are you organized by Akatsuki? Uchiha Itachi and Kakisame were silent for a moment. Advertisement. Kisame looked at Uchiha Itachi, as if waiting for his decision. And Uchiha Itachi just shook his head helplessly. Take Kakashi away, as for the others, let them all disappear. Seeing Uchiha Itachi's reaction, Kakashi also strengthened his mind. He had heard of this organization from Jiraiya before, and now it seems that this Uchiha Itachi must be the Akatsuki organization. Hoshigaki Kisame flashed a trace of excitement on his face, and then he picked up Samahata and slashed at Kakashi fiercely. Bang! I saw Ye Shenyue holding the golden light dagger in his hand, directly blocking Samahata's attack. Seeing Ye Shenyue's golden light dagger, Kisame sneered, this is your blood succession limit, right? Since it's chakra, I can naturally absorb it. Thinking too much, Ye Shenyue smiled faintly, and then watched as the golden short dagger remained motionless under the shark's muscles. How is it possible? Hoshigaki Kisame was a little surprised, but after all, as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he quickly picked up Samahata and slashed it down again. Ye Shenyue's golden light dagger itself is the condensed ability of sparkling fruit. Although it consumes chakra, it does not mean that he is a chakra in a pure sense. Underestimate me, Ye Shenyue shouted loudly, and the golden light dagger stretched out instantly. As the golden light flashed, the golden light dagger directly condensed into the appearance of a long sword. Chakra is really enough, Ye Shenyue smiled triumphantly. Now that I have a chakra that surpasses Jonin, it is easy to turn the golden light dagger into a long sword. It's just that I rarely use it. And amidst the flashing golden light, the golden short dagger directly blocked Shark Muscle's full-strength slash. Advertisement. Ye Shenyue's body also trembled slightly numb. However, under the fierce power of the golden light, the water evaporated inch by inch and turned into steam. This Kisame is really strong enough. Ye Shenyue was a little surprised. Kisame, is it okay? Uchiha Itachi asked. Seeing all the avatars, Hoshigaki Kisame also raised his eyebrows in surprise. It was interesting. As for Ye Shenyue, he didn't want to give Guixie time to breathe. He knew that Guixie was not such an easy opponent. Now this Hoshigaki Kisame is obviously a very good opponent. He gritted his teeth and said, multiple shadow clone technique. However, a golden light can still be seen, directly blasting towards Guixie Shark. A golden light as thick as a bucket shot out directly. The surrounding river was instantly split by this beam of light, and the target was naturally Kisame himself. Boom. As for Ye Shenyue, with a cold snort, he punched the ball of light hard. The steam and the mist produced by the scattered water flow intersected together, and everything in front of them suddenly became hazy. As this Konoha's ninja, Uchiha Itachi, you Konoha village are full of talents. Seeing Kisami's ninjutsu, Ye Shenyue also snorted coldly, such ninjutsu still can't deal with him now. Kakashi also seemed to see that Ye Shenyue wanted to fight Kisame, and hurriedly stopped him, be careful. You are definitely not his match. Boom. Advertisement. Seeing that Ye Shenyue used multiple shadow clone techniques, Kakashi was also a little surprised. How is it possible? I thought only Uzumaki Naruto would have such a chakra, but now it seems that Ye Shenyue's chakra is as immeasurable as the sea. Water-style water shark technique. As soon as the words fell, more than a dozen clones appeared directly beside Ye Shenyue, and each clone looked at Ghost Shark with a fighting look on his face. With the absolute power that is almost destructive, it ruthlessly blasts at the opponent. The dumpling bomb scattered immediately, but there were still countless streams of water entangled on the golden light, as if they wanted to crush the golden light directly. The surrounding river water seemed to be drawn by the light cluster, trembling slightly. How do you know if you don't try? Ye Shenyue raised his eyebrows. Now he also wants to find a good opponent to test his own strength. At this moment, Ye Shenyue took half a step back and made a mudra with both hands. Kisame nodded, carrying Samahata on his shoulders, with an excited look on his face. I can't believe that just being a kid makes me so excited. It really surprised me. And this huge beam of light hit the dumpling bomb directly by 0.5. It turned into a huge light group, shining extremely above the river. Rub rub rub. Kisame let out a muffled snort, raised his shark muscles across his chest, and immediately felt a huge impact, which even made Kisame stagger a few steps. In the hands of more than a dozen clones, a ray of light instantly gathered, and then a dozen rays of light directly condensed together. Hoshigaki Kisame shouted loudly, and the water on the ground suddenly gathered around Hoshigaki Kisami's body, turning into a huge shark-shaped water bomb. He made mudras with his hands, and the water flow under his feet was directly twisted together. Seeing this blow, Shinji Guixi's heart also turned upside down. He couldn't believe that Ye Shenyue had such strength at this age. He took a few steps back and stood on the river, the splashing water even wet his clothes. Chapter 111 Kakashi with Kidney Deficiency. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Kakashi on the side saw Ye Shenyue knocking back the Kisame with one blow, and his eyelids twitched wildly. Is this really Ye Shenyue? This chakra volume, my Jonin is simply inferior. And Uchiha Itachi was also silent for a moment. It seems that there are indeed a lot of talents, and I didn't expect this kid to have such strength. He looked sideways at Kisame, but I believe you, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with this guy. Haha, of course. The dried persimmon ghost clenched its shark muscles and waved it a few times, breaking the air loudly. And Ye Shenyue looked at Hoshigaki Kisame, and couldn't help but feel a bit of scalp tingling. The multiple shadow clone and the golden beam of light just now emptied out the chakra that he didn't have much. It made the already poor families worse. His face was slightly pale, and there was still cold sweat falling on his forehead. Chakra is running out. Looking at the glimmer of light in his hand, his eyes tightened. It seems that it is still a bit difficult for him to deal with an opponent like Kisame. Still overestimating myself. Seeing Kisame continue to slash towards him fiercely with the shark muscle sword, Ye Shenyue also took half a step back, ready to directly turn his body into light and then fight back. But the next moment, he saw an afterimage of green flashing directly in front of him. It's Guy. Guy is late at this time, but it's not too late. Konoha powerful whirlwind. Guy kicked hard, directly on the body of Kisame. Bang. Advertisement. The dried persimmon ghost shark flew out sideways and upside down, and hit the water beside it. After rolling over and over again and again, he finally got stuck in his body. When he got up, his eyes were almost full of horror. Who is it? Guy stood confidently in front of Kisame, posing for a fight. Konoha's blue beast. Might Guy. Afterwards, he looked at the dried persimmon ghost shark, and seemed to be a little puzzled. This looks so strange, is it some kind of exotic beast? Hearing that he was belittled like this, Kisame also snorted coldly, trembling slightly while holding Samahata. Hey, don't underestimate me. Guixie snorted coldly, the killing intent in his eyes hadn't abated yet. Don't underestimate him, Uchiha Itachi also added. He was not surprised by Guy's appearance. After all, it is possible to meet anyone outside Konoha. After seeing Uchiha Itachi's face clearly, Guy also had a serious face. It really is Uchiha Itachi. And Sarutobi Asuma on the side also closed his eyes and reminded, you must never look directly into his eyes. Otherwise, you will fall under the illusion. Although no one has been hallucinated yet, Asuma felt it was necessary to remind Guy. When I dealt with Kakashi before, I figured out how to deal with Sharingan. As long as I don't meet his eyes, it doesn't matter. Guy smiled triumphantly, as if he had mastered some terrible secret. I see, you can judge your opponent's whereabouts by looking at his hands and feet. Asuma and Hong opened their eyes and looked at Guy at the same time, however, I guess only you can do this. Afterwards, Guy looked at Kakashi, who was exhausted after the battle, and Ye Shenyue, who was lacking in chakra, and his expression became serious. Advertisement. Protecting them behind him, he said. Before the Anbu reinforcements I assign arrive, let me block these guys. Hearing the confidence in Guy's tone, Kisame said dissatisfiedly, this guy. But Uchiha Itachi shook his head. Kisame, forget it, we didn't come to fight. The door is opened. I saw Uchiha Sasuke walked into the ward, and then asked Ye Shenyue, where did Naruto go? Damn it, I must beat him. Ever since seeing Naruto's berserk power in opening 6 Tails, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't hold back his emotions. Konoha Hospital. Afterwards, he looked at the dried persimmon ghost shark, and said in a serious tone, there is no point in fighting them, let's go back. Hong, you take Kakashi back, I will patrol for a while. He was too monotonous looking at Naruto's balls before, wondering if he could learn Big Ball Rasengan from Jiraiya. Naruto. Ye Shenyue stretched his waist and said, I also met Uchiha Itachi and Kisame before I told him 233, but at that time Naruto's face was bandaged, maybe Uchiha Itachi didn't recognize it. Quote. Asuma and Hong on the side are taking care of Kakashi, and Guy is also here. Never let him know that Uchiha Itachi is back. Guy looked at Asuma and Hong and said. Kakashi was lying on the hospital bed with a kidney deficiency expression on his face. Where is Naruto now? Asuma asked quickly. Ye Shenyue couldn't complain, so she just waved her hand. Forget it, I'm going back to go fishing. Naruto. I sent him to Jiraiya to study Rasengan. I don't know when he will come back. Oh yes, they should eat at Ichiraku ramen now. Ye Shenyue stretched. Bang. Advertisement. This body flicker technique is a bit fast. Ye Shenyue said with slightly narrowed eyes. With a muffled sound, Kakashi fell directly to the ground. It's really not easy, you can actually stop them. Seeing Uchiha Sasuke, everyone's face changed slightly. Thump. A look of exhaustion. Guy gave Ye Shenyue a thumbs up, your body exudes the charming atmosphere of youth. Their target is probably Naruto. Kakashi looked at the ceiling and said to Asuma. As for Ye Shenyue, she was also dozing off while leaning against a chair. Now the young couple are more or less injured. Although Uchiha Itachi verbally said to retreat, Guy still can't be careless. Dried persimmon ghost showed dissatisfaction on his face, and then he let out a long sigh, what a pity. Tisk. Watching Hong and Asuma retreating towards Konoha with Kakashi, Guy stopped his eyes on Ye Shenyue again. Then the two of them disappeared in place in an instant. Although he didn't have illusions, but he used Sharingan for a long time, and his chakra was overdrawn. Uchiha Itachi is not an ordinary ninja, maybe he will soon realize what the situation is. Asuma raised his heart in an instant. Then, it also disappeared in the original. As the target Jinchuriki, Asuma showed a solemn expression on his face. What two difficult guys to deal with. They actually returned to Konoha at this time. It's just that Big Ball Rasengan is not that simple, and now that summoning technique Naruto has only learned half a kati, it is estimated that he will have to practice for a while. Chapter 112 You are my big brother, please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Naruto. Naruto is at Ichiraku's place. Kakashi said after a pause. And Ye Shenyue pointed to the door. Do you want to weld the door shut? Uchiha Sasuke looked at Kakashi on the hospital bed, and wondered, Mr. Kakashi, who beat you like this? It looks so miserable. Tisk. Actually, it's nothing. Kakashi was thinking of some reason to drive Sasuke away. But suddenly saw a person rushing into the room. This person is Aoshiro Yamaha, and when he came in, he shouted loudly, Kakashi. I heard Itachi returned to the village. Is it true? And I heard that his target is Naruto. Before he finished speaking, he saw Sasuke's gloomy face. He also seemed to know that he seemed to say something that shouldn't be said. Ye Shenyue on the side helplessly covered his face, idiot. Sasuke's eyes suddenly became hollow, and he even suspected that he had heard wrong for a moment. I obviously just wanted to fight with Naruto, as if I heard something great. Without saying a word, he rushed out of the ward with a sullen face. Things have become troublesome. Ye Shenyue sighed, this is fate. Inside Konoha village, Sasuke shuttled constantly in Konoha village, and countless pictures flashed in his mind. Advertisement. He had imagined the scene where he and Uchiha Itachi would meet again countless times, but he never expected to hear about Itachi at this very moment. Uchiha Sasuke covered his eyes and smiled coldly. Itachi, you said you'd wait until you have eyes like yours before coming to you. Now I'm almost there. Ichiraku Ramen. Ichiraku was still taking care of the guests when he suddenly saw Uchiha Sasuke rushing in. Where is Uzumaki Naruto? Sasuke asked hastily. Ichiraku touched his chin, thought for a moment, and said, Naruto. I remember he came with Mr. Jiraiya, and then went to the post station in the small town not far from the village. Quote. Jiraiya. Sasuke seemed to have a little impression of the name. That Jiraiya, one of the Sannin. Yes, it's an old man with white hair. Ichiraku gestured. Sasuke nodded, and then quickly ran out of the village. He naturally knew Jiraiya, and even knew that Naruto's Rasengan learned from Jiraiya. Are these two guys going to practice? Damn it, they were actually targeted by that damned guy Itachi. Sasuke was so ruthless that he even bit his own lip, and a little bit of bloodline flowed out. In the station, Naruto sat on the bed with a dissatisfied face, and snorted coldly, Pervy Sage actually put me here first and then went to live alone. Damn, do you want me to practice new ninjutsu? Suddenly, the door creaked. Naruto raised his head hastily, but found two strangers wearing red cloud robes standing in front of him. Who are you? Naruto just wanted to ask, but suddenly sat up, and then subconsciously took out kunai. Advertisement. I saw that Uchiha Itachi was staring at Naruto with a pair of Sharingan, constantly measuring. Sharingan like Kakashi and Sasuke. Who are you? Naruto stood up hastily, he couldn't remember who else had a Sharingan now. Looks a bit like Sasuke. Naruto gritted his teeth. And Kisame looked at Naruto and said in disbelief, I never thought that the Nine-Tails demon fox would be in this kid's body. Hearing this word, Naruto trembled again, who are you? Why do you know Nine-Tails? Looking at Naruto, Uchiha Itachi just said lightly, Naruto, come with us. Although the words were very soft, Naruto could still hear the threat from them, he gritted his teeth and couldn't help taking a few steps back, it doesn't look simple at all. Hoshigaki Kisame snorted coldly, and said to Naruto, this brat looks very vigilant, maybe it would be better to cut off his legs. Fangzi ran away. After all, he touched the big knife Samahata behind his back. Cut off my legs. Naruto gritted his teeth, took half a step back, held kunai in his hand, and said viciously to Itachi and Kisame, I don't know who you are. But you want to do something to me. You just chose the wrong person. Naruto also didn't know where he got the courage from. He hurriedly retreated to the corridor, holding kunai tightly in his hand. Seeing Naruto's nervous look, Hoshigaki Kisame was even more playful. Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly, raised his head, and said to Naruto's back, Sasuke, long time no see. Hearing this sentence, Naruto also hurriedly turned around, but saw Sasuke standing behind him with a murderous expression on his face. At this time, Sasuke seemed to be trembling slightly because of excitement, and his three-tomo Sharingan was also staring at Uchiha Itachi. Backquote. Uchiha Itachi, I'm going to kill you. Sasuke said deadpan. Have you got Sangoyu? Uchiha Itachi seemed a little surprised, I didn't expect you to improve so fast, but I guess you gave up a lot for these eyes. Advertisement. Kisame also looked at Sasuke, looked at Sharingan and said, Sharingan. Who is he? My brother. Uchiha Itachi replied. Oh, Hoshigaki Kisame seemed to remember something, I heard that Uchiha was exterminated. Yes, I did it. Hearing this, Naruto finally remembered who this person was. He hurriedly stood next to Sasuke, looked at Uchiha Itachi and said with gritted teeth, I finally remembered. You were the one, Sasuke said. Damn Uchiha Itachi. And Sasuke snorted coldly, stretched out a hand and straightened his neckline. Uchiha Itachi, I have imagined countless pictures of killing you, but now this picture has finally come true. Okay Jiao, Sasuke laughed miserably, Chidori kept singing in his hand. Amidst the flashing thunder, countless earth chimes resounded throughout the entire floor. Above the corridor, it seems that the jumping lightning can be seen everywhere. I live, just to kill you. Sasuke let out a roar, and his figure turned into an afterimage of thunder, sprinting towards Uchiha Itachi continuously. The terrifying chakra used due to anger, even directly tore Sasuke's palm. The blood was splattered and evaporated by the thunder. Accompanied by layers of blood mist, Sasuke let out a roar, and rushed towards Uchiha Itachi. Looking at Sasuke, Kisame snorted coldly, "Is this your brother?" "That's great." "Yeah." Uchiha Itachi stretched out a hand, and directly grabbed Sasuke's hand in an understatement. Watching Chidori gradually go out in Sasuke's hand, Uchiha Itachi said softly, "That's nice." Chapter 113. An uninvited guest. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Damn it. Sasuke clenched his teeth, but couldn't break free. "I thought you would make some progress, but after so many years you are still stagnant." Uchiha Itachi was about to preach, but he saw layers of curse marks spreading on Sasuke's body. Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly. "This is Orochimaru's." And Sasuke let out a roar, pouring the power of countless spells into his palm. Chidori, which seemed to be about to go out just now, flashed black thunder again. "Chidori!" Sasuke roared, and a Chidori slammed into Uchiha Itachi hard. Uchiha Itachi snorted coldly, kicked Sasuke hard and directly. Sasuke flew upside down, fell directly to the ground, howled miserably, and several streams of blood spilled out of his mouth. "Sasuke!" Naruto hastily helped Sasuke up, with a concerned look on his face. "Are you okay?" Sasuke snorted coldly, wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth. "I have nothing to do. This is my battle. Don't interfere." And Uchiha Itachi saw that the corner of his clothes was scorched black, and a large piece was burned off, and he also smiled lightly. "It seems that you are not such a waste." Quote. Sasuke snorted coldly, "Yes." The next moment, Sasuke disappeared directly in place. This speed is almost a speed that only Sharingan can capture. Sasuke appeared directly in front of Uchiha Itachi the next moment, and 040 kicked Uchiha Itachi hard on the chin. "It's so naive." Uchiha Itachi snorted coldly, and the wolf smashed Uchiha Sasuke's calf with a knife. Sasuke grunted, turned around in the air, and kicked Uchiha Itachi again in the chest. But seeing Uchiha Itachi still played lightly and continued his attack. Advertisement. Isn't this level of attack enough? Sasuke's eyes widened, almost in disbelief. After so much training, it seems that there is still no way to defeat Uchiha Itachi in the end. Damn it, you can't let Sasuke fight alone. Naruto gritted his teeth. The tailed beast chakra leaked from his seal, and Red's chakra directly wrapped around Naruto's body. Naruto lay on the ground and directly opened the three tails tail beast coat form. ACDI, now he is like a wild beast. The fox stares at Uchiha Itachi with vertical pupils, and shows his fangs. "Naruto. I said it. Don't meddle." Sasuke snorted coldly, thrusting one hand aside. Bang. Sasuke inserted one hand directly into the wall, and then grabbed the wall for a relay, and his body bounced into the air again. Both hands swiftly formed seals, gathered the chakra in the body, and shouted loudly, "Fire style." Great fireball technique. I saw a huge fireball hitting Uchiha Itachi fiercely. But Itachi just shook his head helplessly in the face of such an attack. "Is this your fire style?" Looking at the huge fireball in front of him, Uchiha Itachi is just a posture of hating iron but not steel. "Then let you see if that's the only way." Sasuke roared. "Fire style great fireball technique." Uchiha Itachi spewed out a large stream of flames from his mouth. The raging flames converged into a fireball, and then expanded into a sea of flames again. The sea of fire collided directly with Sasuke's fireball, and exploded violently with a bang. Everything around trembled immediately, and the building was trembling non-stop. Advertisement. While trembling, Sasuke howled miserably, and was blasted out abruptly. Cough. Sasuke spewed out a mouthful of blood, and his body was like a kite with a broken string, flying backwards continuously. Seeing this, Naruto hurriedly caught Sasuke, and said to him, "Is there anything wrong?" "I've said it all, this is my fight." Sasuke clenched his fists, as if he didn't want to admit defeat, but now he actually doesn't have much strength. But his skin gradually turned gray, and a pair of wings grew out of his back, directly tearing his shirt. "Uchiha Itachi, I want to let you know how much I have worked so hard to kill you." Sasuke howled miserably, and immediately felt infinite power pouring into every cell of him. Has the curse seal been developed to this stage? Uchiha Itachi was a little surprised. But he smiled lightly and said, "Uchiha Sasuke, you are so young." "What?" Sasuke seemed a little surprised. "How dare you look at Sharingan?" As soon as Uchiha Itachi finished speaking, Sasuke felt that the surrounding scene had undergone an earth-shaking change. Everything around him instantly turned black and white, and Sasuke himself was tied to the cross without knowing when. Countless black shadows around him stabbed at his body with sharp blades. "Ah!" Sasuke howled again and again. Uchiha Itachi appeared next to him, with a faint smile. "Here, both time and space quality are under my control, you lost. This will last a full 24 hours. In reality, Sasuke was only shocked, then howled miserably, and fell to the ground on the spot. Plop. Advertisement. Sasuke trembled all over and had already lost consciousness. "Sasuke, what's wrong with you?" Naruto hugged Sasuke, a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. It turned out that in just a short moment, Sasuke was placed in the second stage of the curse seal. Huh. Uchiha Itachi let out a long breath. Kisame looked at Uchiha Itachi and smiled faintly, as Mr. Itachi's Tsukuyomi too wasteful to deal with him. Uchiha Itachi shook his head slowly, "Teach him a lesson and let him know the gap between us." In front of him, Naruto's expression gradually became distorted. "Damn, you bloody bastard." With a roar, Naruto turned into an afterimage of scarlet, and punched Uchiha Itachi hard in the chest. Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly, and stretched out his palm to directly block Naruto's fist. Bang! Uchiha Itachi took a few steps back before reluctantly blocking the blow. This tail beast chakra is really powerful, and it has strengthened Naruto's body to this level. Uchiha Itachi looked at his palm and found that the center part had been burned by the tail beast chakra. And at this moment, Jiraiya was long overdue. Looking at Sasuke who fell on the ground and Naruto who opened the tail beast coat, Jiraiya's eyes widened immediately. Damn it. I just left for a while, how did it become like this? He knew that there would be uninvited guests here, but he still didn't expect that Naruto would directly use the tail beast's calendar area. Even Sasuke didn't know when he appeared here, and he was lying on the ground dying. Chapter 114 The Horrible Nine Tails Chakra. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. One of Sanin's. Uchiha Itachi looked at Jiraiya, shook his arm, and said softly, I have heard of you for a long time. The next moment, he saw Naruto leaping up again, and punched himself hard in the chest. Isn't it over yet? Uchiha Itachi narrowed his eyes slightly, and stood up straight, letting Naruto punch him. In an instant, when Naruto's fist was only a few centimeters away from Uchiha Itachi suddenly turned into countless crows and disappeared in place. The next moment, his body appeared behind Naruto. The speed is very fast, but not as fast as my seal speed. Uchiha Itachi thrust through the Nine Tails chakra and grabbed Naruto by the throat. Nine Tails chakra was burning Uchiha Itachi's skin, and there was already a lot of blood leaking from his skin. But he still locked Naruto's throat tightly, and he seemed to believe that just by doing so, he could restrain his opponent. Don't underestimate me, Naruto roared, stretched out his hand, and rubbed Nine Tails chakra on it, and after a while, he rubbed out a red ball mixed with Nine Tails chakra. Rasengan. Uchiha Itachi frowned slightly, ready to throw Naruto away with a flick of his hand. But saw Naruto stick Rasengan directly to his chest with chakra. Uchiha Itachi's eyes tightened slightly. At this moment, Uzumaki Naruto's speed is so fast, he is indeed a ninja with Nine Tails chakra. However, the next moment, the shark muscle was directly in front of Uchiha Itachi. The Rasengan of the orangutan red and the Nine Tails chakra are directly absorbed by the shark muscle. Advertisement. Brat, I didn't expect your chakra to be delicious. Kisame licked his lips and looked at Naruto greedily. And the tail beast coat on Naruto's body was constantly being pulled into the shark's muscles, which made Kisami's eyes become subtle. This kind of chakra is really rare. It can make Samahata excited like this. Quote. And Naruto's little remaining chakra was almost completely absorbed by the shark muscle, and the tail beast coat on him also dissipated immediately. Tail beast chakra. All gone. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise, and now he can't even feel a trace of chakra from the crack in the seal. Even the chakra in his body was completely absorbed, and Naruto's face became sluggish for a moment. This guy, he's stronger than I thought. Naruto gritted his teeth, as if he didn't want to face this scene, but there was no doubt that this was reality. With a plop, Naruto fell directly to the ground, not even having the strength to get up. Not far away, Sasuke just stared blankly at Naruto being sucked away by chakra all over chakra. Tortured by Tsukuyomi, Sasuke is now in a complete mental breakdown. What the hell am I doing now? Sasuke's voice could not hear a trace of emotion. Up to now, I still can't kill that guy. Thinking of this, Sasuke's expression became ferocious again. Is it true that I still lack strength? Damn guy. He reluctantly got up, and all he could see in his eyes was hatred. Sure enough, I still need more power. The curse seal spread from his neck again. Seeing this scene, Kisame was a little puzzled. Itachi, why is he still able to move now? It doesn't look like he got hit by that trick. Advertisement. Seeing Sasuke stand up again, Uchiha Itachi also snorted coldly. This guy is so tough, it really exceeded my expectations. Uchiha Sasuke roared, and the little chakra in his body was activated again by the power of the spell. While the curse seal overdraws Sasuke's body, it gives him a lot of chakra. Naruto saw Sasuke activating the second form of the curse seal again, and hurriedly shouted, Sasuke. How can you be his opponent now? Tsukuyomi is an attack on the spirit, and Sasuke's spiritual energy is running out now. No matter how the vertical curse seal activates his physical energy, there is no way to give it to Sasuke chakra. But Sasuke's expression became very ferocious. He shook his hand, and Black's electric light exploded in his palm. Cough. Sasuke opened his mouth. A stream of blood sprayed out. His body shook slightly, but he still gritted his teeth and looked at Uchiha Itachi. The next moment, a golden light flashed in front of Sasuke. Sasuke backed down. Ye Shenyue ignored Sasuke behind him, just made a mudra with both hands. Shadow clone technique. 0. Ask for flowers. Suddenly, a clone exactly like Ye Shenyue appeared next to him. You must pay attention to this next move. Ye Shenyue smiled slightly, a light flickering in his hand. On the other hand of the avatar, there is also a glimmer of light. Immediately, the two rays of light were directly connected together, and between Ye Shenyue's body and the avatar seemed to be connected with a huge light knife. This technique. Jiraiya looked at Ye Shenyue, seeming a little puzzled. Why is it so similar to Kakashi's Thunder Pass? Advertisement. And the next second, Ye Shenyue and the clone turned into an afterimage, and rushed towards Uchiha Itachi suddenly. The huge light knife connected between the two of them can almost cut Uchiha Itachi's body in two. But Uchiha Itachi did not hide, forming a seal with one hand. The moment the light knife touched Uchiha Itachi's body turned into countless crows and dissipated. Crow body replacement technique. Ye Shenyue frowned slightly, and the next moment saw Uchiha Itachi appearing directly behind Ye Shenyue. The kunai in his hands also touched Ye Shenyue's neck. Ye Shenyue, it looks like you haven't made much progress compared to a few years ago. Uchiha Itachi's cold voice came into Ye Shenyue's ears. You are worthy of the tail of the crane like Naruto. The same crane tail as Naruto. Ye Shenyue smiled lightly, do you think you can really beat Naruto? Although Uchiha Itachi stood behind him, Ye Shenyue fell directly backwards. The body passed through Uchiha Itachi's body, and at the same time made a seal with both hands. Next, I will show you the real horror of Nine-Tails chakra. A golden light seemed to emerge from Ye Shenyue's hand, and the seal on Uzumaki Naruto's stomach seemed to be trembling slightly. This time, Jiraiya really couldn't sit still. Ye Shenyue, don't break Naruto's seal. He gritted his teeth, then made a seal with his hands and pressed them on the ground, ninja method. Toad mouth restraint technique. Immediately, the esophagus of Mount Myoboku was exposed by Jiraiya summoning, directly enveloping the entire corridor. Chapter 115 The Scum Who Killed the Teacher. For more, please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Tisk. Jiraiya used this trick, but Ye Shenyue didn't dare to continue to undo Naruto's seal. At least now is not the time to untie it. What is this? Uzumaki Naruto jumped up in surprise, he found himself standing on a wall of flesh. The surrounding flesh walls are still constantly squeezing towards them. Uchiha Itachi let go of his palm, and Luwu fell to the ground. Soon, kunai was completely swallowed up by the wall of flesh. This kind of power, Uchiha Itachi thought about it. Jiraiya said to Naruto, don't worry. This is my ninjutsu, don't worry Naruto. And Uchiha Itachi looked at Sasuke standing in the distance, just smiled lightly, Sasuke, I didn't expect you to be so weak after all these years, even relying on him, 480. Only with the help of people can we barely survive. You, Sasuke clenched his teeth, his eyes almost burst into flames, this Uchiha Itachi is the person he hates the most, nothing else. But at present, even with full strength, it is still difficult to truly defeat this guy. And Uchiha Itachi scanned the faces of everyone, and he knew it in his heart. Advertisement. These guys, it's not that simple, just a Jiraiya is not something we can deal with. Uchiha Itachi looked at Kisame Kishi, and said to him, follow me. As soon as the words fell, the two began to run backwards continuously. In the crumbling esophagus, Jiraiya seemed very confident, so far, no one has been able to escape from here. Anyway, both of you are level 9 ninjas. Why don't you die now this? And Uchiha Itachi didn't say a word, just closed his eyes slightly, and then a stream of blood flowed down from his eyes. Amaterasu. A black flame instantly appeared at the end of the esophagus, and in just an instant, the thick esophagus was directly burned through a big hole. Uchiha Itachi and Kisame also disappeared into the end. How is it possible? What is this black flame? Jiraiya hurriedly ran over, looking at this black flame, her scalp felt numb, this temperature doesn't look like a common flame. This is Amaterasu. It's Uchiha Itachi's pupil art. It's almost an inextinguishable flame. Ye Shenyue said to Jiraiya, squinting her eyes slightly. Jiraiya was taken aback for a moment, then directly took out a scroll. He had just unlocked the form of the curse seal, and he was still very weak at this time. Sasuke's heart was really shaken, but he looked at Orochimaru with a trace of doubt in his eyes, can you really give me the power of revenge? Now this is the rhetoric, when Sasuke really surrenders to Orochimaru, Orochimaru will not really treat Sasuke well. And Sasuke snorted coldly and walked outside. Orochimaru looked at Sasuke, smiled slightly, and said, Sasuke, I have been waiting for you here for a long time, but you finally appeared, how is it? Do you like the ability I gave you? Advertisement. Sure enough, Orochimaru was standing in front of everyone, and even followed this guy beside him. Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru with a faint smile, I don't think a person who can kill his own teacher would make a great teacher. Seeing the pocket, Sasuke snorted coldly, it seems that you were really an undercover agent. I really underestimated you, a damned guy. At the same time, his eyes gradually darkened, don't forget, you are just an avenger. Orochimaru seemed to have guessed that Sasuke would answer in this way, he looked at Sasuke, stretched out his tongue, and licked his lips fiercely, Sasuke, if you surrender to me, I can give you real power, let you gain the power to kill Uchiha Itachi. And when everyone walked out, they all had solemn faces. I saw that the black flame gradually poured into the scroll, and then completely disappeared into the scroll. If you can kill Uchiha Itachi, even if you have to pay any price, it is absolutely acceptable. Yakushi Kabuto watched Ye Shenyue contradict Orochimaru, and cursed, don't be rude. This is Master Orochimaru. His eyes gradually turned cold, and his self-confidence collapsed directly from the battle just now. Yakushi Kabuto's face turned pale immediately, if it wasn't for Orochimaru being here to make him dare not act rashly, otherwise he would have rushed forward long ago. Now Sasuke still can't make up his mind whether to stay in Konoha honestly or to take revenge with Orochimaru. And Sasuke's voice came in faintly from outside, because otherwise, I can't even beat Uzumaki Naruto. Sealing technique sealing fire seal. Advertisement. The esophagus of the big toad in Yansu can be burned through by flames. How is that possible? Jiraiya carefully held the scroll in her hand and pondered for a moment. Ye Shenyue stared at Yakushi Kabuto, and snorted coldly, you are not a good person, after all, you are just a dog of Orochimaru. Do you really think you are a good person? He dismissed Orochimaru's remarks. Jiraiya carefully put away the scroll, lost in thought. It is because of Tsukuyomi's hit that he is mentally overdrawn to the extreme. Sasuke clutched his neck with disdain on his face, the ability you gave me. I can't even kill Uchiha Itachi. Is this the ability you gave me? And Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru, and was also very dissatisfied, Orochimaru, we haven't seen each other for a long time, don't you have anything to say? Avenger. Sasuke's heart seemed to be slightly shaken, he always dreamed of killing Uchiha Itachi. Naruto was stunned for a moment, wondering, Sasuke, are you stupid? There is no Orochimaru here. Orochimaru squinted his eyes at Jiraiya, and sneered 5.6, I heard that you were there that day, but I didn't see you, and now we finally met each other, how about it, do you also support Sasuke to join my camp? Hey, don't fool my Sasuke, okay. Ye Shenyue crossed his arms and said dissatisfiedly, you just look like Sasuke's body. You're scumbag. Then he turned his head to look at Ye Shenyue, his eyes full of confusion. He had already guessed that there was definitely a problem with Do's identity, but he did not expect that Do was on Orochimaru's side. He stretched out his hand and said to Sasuke, your current heaven seal is just one of the insignificant powers I can give you. Sasuke finally knows that his current strength is still too weak, and he must obtain stronger strength. Chapter 116 I am qualified to be your teacher. Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Obviously, Jiraiya still has a problem with Orochimaru, his eyes have always been full of aggression, and he will not forgive Orochimaru for what he has done. As for Orochimaru, he didn't care, he looked at Sasuke and said, in that case, Sasuke, I'll let you see if I'm qualified to be your teacher. As soon as the words fell, he walked slowly towards Sasuke step by step, and said as he walked, you know, you are just an avenger, as long as you can kill the person you should kill, even if you sell your soul it doesn't matter to anyone. Sasuke raised his eyebrows, as if he was tempted, but he was still hesitating. However, Jiraiya on the side took a stance to fight. Orochimaru, I don't care about Sasuke, but you are the S-class rebellious ninja of Konoha village. You even want to murder third Hokage and start a war between Sunagakure and Konoha village. No matter how you judge, you are a heinous crime. I'm going to get rid of you here. Oh, you can try it. Orochimaru looked very excited. He looked at Jiraiya and said, I haven't fought with you for a long time. And Ye Shenyue had a troubled look on his face. The current Naruto and Sasuke are both in a state of kidney deficiency, but they still have a little fighting power. Oh 2. If this Orochimaru and Jiraiya split 50-50, I have to deal with this Uchiha Kabuto. From any point of view, I am too disadvantaged, and I have to continue to fight. It's really troublesome. Ye Shenyue sighed helplessly, it was simply too difficult for herself. As for Naruto took out kunai, he gritted his teeth and said, Orochimaru. No matter what, I will not let you take Sasuke. I will not let you leave here either. Orochimaru looked at Naruto with narrowed eyes, little nine tails, it seems that you still don't know the seriousness of the matter. As soon as the words fell, Naruto rushed directly in front of Orochimaru and kicked Orochimaru's chin viciously. Advertisement. That action, a bit like my lion combo. Sasuke narrowed his eyes slightly. But the fact is that Naruto imitated Sasuke's movements, but was grabbed by Orochimaru's legs and held in his hands. Little ghost, don't forget who I am. With this kind of pediatric method, the only one who suffers in the end is you. Orochimaru chuckled, and the murderous intent in his eyes became more and more intense. But Naruto did not give up struggling, and directly stabbed kunai on Orochimaru's arm. Damn guy, let me go. He gritted his teeth, but Orochimaru's arm suddenly turned into countless pythons, entwining Naruto together again. I can't breathe. Naruto's expression suddenly became painful. Among the boa constrictors, Orochimaru withdrew his arm, with a look of disdain, little fox, you really have a hand. Seeing Orochimaru doing it himself, Sasuke snorted coldly, Orochimaru. You did it yourself for me. It seems that you really think highly of me. Although he still didn't know what purpose Orochimaru wanted him for, he was still convinced that since Orochimaru transplanted the power of the curse seal on his body, it meant that this guy must have no good intentions. You have to be careful with this guy. Fire-style great fireball technique. Sasuke looked at Orochimaru's smile gradually becoming pervert with a disgusted face, and then said, even if I die, I will not follow you. The stone and the fireball collided directly, and the rock shattered amidst the explosion of the fire. Toad oil flame bomb. Advertisement. When Tai glanced at Wan Snake, her expression became a little serious, as this guy. This technology is comparable to what Tsunade has. Jiraiya sighed and said, but Tsunade is not as disgusting as you. He opened his mouth and bit Jiraiya hard on the top of Bunta's head. Orochimaru grabbed the shuriken with a smirk on his face, smashed the shuriken with a click, and pulled it out of his body. Bang! And Jiraiya took a deep breath, and cooperated with Bunta to use the toad oil bomb. The toad had a pipe in its mouth and looked dissatisfied. He pressed on his wound, and instantly heard the sound of liquid boiling, and as Chakra's light flashed, Orochimaru's wound healed instantly. After that, he slapped his hand on the ground. Sasuke took a deep breath, gathered the chakra in his body, and then turned into a huge fireball, spraying it towards Orochimaru. A Fuma shuriken passed through the fireball and flew straight towards Orochimaru. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes became clearer. Orochimaru didn't seem nervous at all in the face of such a sea of flames attack, and the 10,000 snakes under him circled directly in front of Gama Bunta at a speed that was completely disproportionate to his body size. Jiraiya, what's the matter? Bunta Gama glanced at Jiraiya and said lightly. Jiraiya stood on top of Bunta Toad, looked at Orochimaru and said, Bunta. Kill this guy. With a bang, he was directly nailed to a big tree behind him by the shuriken. Advertisement. Only then did Wan Snake turn his head to Jiraiya's side, spitting out snake letters, looking very impatient. I saw that the toad oil and the flames directly fused together, and immediately turned into a sea of flames, burning straight towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiled slightly. I know what you want, 100 living people as sacrifices. Master Orochimaru. Uchiha Kabuto rushed to Orochimaru, wanting to make sure if Orochimaru was okay. Jiraiya snorted coldly, made mudras with both hands, and shouted, summoning technique. And Orochimaru rubbed a little blood on his fingertips, and said slowly, it might be a little fun for that guy Tsunade to be here. Is there a shuriken hidden in the great fireball? It's interesting, I can see a little bit of Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru smiled coldly, and did not do too many evasive movements, and was directly inserted into the body by the Shuriken Superior. Seeing the huge fireball flying towards him, Orochimaru snorted coldly, his arm suddenly became longer, grabbed a huge stone not far away and threw it directly towards the fireball. Don't always leave this mess to me. Wan Shi Leng 817 snorted, and said viciously to Orochimaru. Summoning technique. Tick. When the smoke cleared, 10 huge pythons appeared under Orochimaru. The purple snake looked at Jiraiya as if it was food. Is that so? Orochimaru smiled lightly. If that's the case, then I just need to take you back. Anyway, all I need is your body. I saw a huge toad appearing directly in front of everyone. A drop of blood fell from Orochimaru's body and stained the soil. Chapter 117 Kill 10,000 Snakes. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Jiraiya, it seems that so many years have passed, if you are old. A trace of disdain flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. It was also the first time that Jiraiya felt the pressure in the face of 10,000 snakes. Sure enough, it's still the same Orochimaru. Jiraiya looked at Orochimaru with a trace of fear in his eyes. In his impression, Orochimaru has more than just such abilities. Toad Wentai stepped hard on the ground next to him, and with a bang, the surrounding ground exploded one after another. And he shouted loudly, grabbed the big knife at his waist, and slashed out with a wolf. I saw that the knife slashed on Wan Snake's body, and with a puff, blood burst out. The stench of blood seemed to have stimulated Wan Shi's nerves. He let out a loud cry, and bit directly on the shoulder of Toad Bunta. The huge ivory-like teeth seemed to be biting on tofu, directly biting through the flesh and blood of Toad Bunta. Damn it! Toad Wentai howled in pain, and at the same time, the poison of 10,000 snakes was gradually injected into Toad Wentai's body. Z-Black's poisonous gas is also continuously spewed out from Wan Snake's mouth. It's just a toad, do you really want to defeat me? Wan Shi let go of her mouth, and only a trace of disdain could be seen in her cold eyes. Damn it, this 10,000 snakes. Jiraiya clenched her fists. Fire-style big inflammation bullet. He slammed a fireball and sprayed it at Orochimaru on top of 10,000 snakes. Advertisement. And Orochimaru waved his hand slightly, and a huge boa constrictor rushed out from the cuff, opened its mouth wide and directly swallowed the fireball into its mouth. The flames exploded in the python's stomach, and the stench of blood in the sky was directly boiled, and Orochimaru's voice also came from the sparks in the sky. Jiraiya, after so many years, you are indeed old, like our teacher. I didn't kill the teacher at that time, but now I can kill you. Orochimaru chuckled. It seems that Jiraiya is not worthy of him at all-out opponent. And Toad Wentai's bitten shoulder was directly swollen due to the toxin, and even the long knife in his hand fell to the ground. Damn it, I have no strength in my hands. Wentai gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do about Wan Snake. This one appeared as an evil summoning beast that wanted 100 living people as sacrifices, and it was completely unambiguous in the battle. Orochimaru sneered. Wan Snake lashed at Bunta's tail again. With a slap, it hit Wentai firmly on the body, and only heard a miserable howl. He backed up directly and fell to the ground. And Jiraiya frowned. Fire-style toad oil flame bomb. Wentai cooperated with Jiraiya with his last strength and spit out a toad oil. Combined with the fire style used by Jiraiya, it immediately turned into a sea of flames. In the sea of flames boiling, I saw 10,000 snakes slowly falling to the ground. Is he dead? Sasuke asked suspiciously. He clenched his fists tightly, and in the process of fighting Orochimaru, he found that his strength was really not enough now. He can't even beat Ye Shenyue. If this is the case, then how can we get revenge? But when the sea of flames dissipated, only the skin of 10,000 snakes was lying on the ground, leaving only an empty shell. Molted. Wentai gritted his teeth. Now he has reached the limit. He closed his eyes helplessly, and said to Jiraiya, I'm done here, I have to go back to Mount Myoboku to rest. Advertisement. Then, it turned into a cloud of dust and smoke, and disappeared in place. At this moment, 10,000 snakes also drilled out of the ground and smashed hard on Jiraiya's body. Ye's head pressed firmly against Jiraiya's body. Jiraiya snorted, and punched Wan Shi's head with a backhand. With a bang, the snake fell, and Jiraiya reacted and jumped aside. He rubbed his chest and gritted his teeth. Sure enough, I can't resist this guy alone. Just as Jiraiya was thinking about what kind of ninjutsu to use next, he saw a ray of light and ran towards 10,000 snakes again. Ye Shenyue yelled loudly and kicked Wan Shi hard. Wan Snake howled miserably, and the skin on his body burst open, shattering inch by inch. Blood seeped out from the crack, looking extremely horrified. How is it possible, you bastard? Wan Shi's eyes widened, and she couldn't believe that this brat had such great strength. HMPH, it's just a lazy snake. Ye Shenyue smiled confidently, his body seemed to be shrouded in a layer of light. Orochimaru looked at Ye Shenyue, and also focused slightly. You little brat, it's really hard to deal with Wan Snake. And Wan Shi snorted coldly, opened his mouth wide, and spit out a stream of poisonous gas. The purple-black mist gradually spread, and this powerful dead air even caused the surrounding trees to die immediately. Oops, Ye Shenyue must not suck it in. Sasuke shouted hastily. And Ye Shenyue snorted coldly, the chakra on his body surged up, he shouted loudly, and punched out hard. This punch directly smashed out a bright golden light, which exploded on the spot. Advertisement. Among the countless golden lights, it seemed that a huge tornado directly scattered all the poisonous gas, and Ye Shenyue also turned into a ball of light with a long tail. He punched Wan Snake hard. A stream of blood spewed out from Wan Shi's mouth. Wan Shi couldn't believe it at this moment. The strength of this brat is really so terrifying. How dare you deal with me like this? Wan Snake howled in pain, and at the same time, the huge tail wolf smashed to Ye Shenyue who was on the ground. Bang! Dust and smoke stirred up. The ground trembled slightly, and countless cracks spread immediately. But at this moment, Ye Shenyue came out through the body, Wang Zhao, the whole body turned into photons, and rushed out directly from the tail. This guy. Wan Snake widened his eyes, showing his long fangs, and then bit Ye Shenyue fiercely. The power of 10,000 snakes is enough to crush you. Orochimaru smiled lightly. No matter what kind of special ability Ye Shenyue has, as long as 10,000 snakes are enraged, they will definitely die. And Ye Shenyue was impartial, shaking her hand slightly. In the flickering light, the long sword appeared in his hand. This sword is enough to kill you. Ye Shenyue clenched the golden long sword in her hand, and slashed at Wan Snake's head. Amazon Cloud Sword. I saw the sword light rushing, and a golden light spread from Wan Snake's neck. But Wan Shi opened her mouth wide, but didn't make a sound. Plop. His head rolled directly to the ground. Chapter 118. I want to dedicate my life to adults. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Wan Snake's huge body fell to the ground, with fresh blood spraying from the fracture. In Sasuke's eyes, everything is full of surprise. With one sword, cut off all snakes. And Jiraiya's eyes widened, unable to speak for a long time. Wan Snake, who forced Wentai into a desperate situation, was easily taken away by Ye Shenyue with a sword. This is simply news like a thunderbolt. Blood spread to Ye Shenyue's feet and wet Ye Shenyue's shoes. On the other hand, Orochimaru, who was opposite him, had a dignified face, and he folded his arms for a long time without saying a word. Ye Shenyue, it seems that you have some ability. Orochimaru smiled faintly. You can even kill 10,000 snakes. It seems that you are indeed a genius. There's no such thing as a genius, it's just that you're not far from death now. Ye Shenyue sneered, and the Amazono cloud sword in her boudoir still didn't dissipate. He stepped on the blood and walked towards Orochimaru step by step. Orochimaru saw that Ye Shenyue really wanted to kill himself. He opened his mouth and spat out the Kusanagi sword. From the slender sword body, traces of mucus dripped from it, looking extremely disgusting. You 307 people, even if you can kill thousands of snakes, what can you prove? Orochimaru sneered. His figure was as fast as lightning. Like a snake, he twisted his body on the ground, and slashed at Ye Shenyue fiercely go. Amidst the flickering sword light, the golden light of Tien Kongyun's sword flashed. Orochimaru snorted, and the Kusanagi sword in his hand broke in two. Advertisement. With a clang, half of the blade fell to the ground, and Orochimaru's face was also pale. His arm was cut off directly and hit the ground. The fracture is extremely smooth. Master Orochimaru. Yakushi Kabuto hurried to Orochimaru's side, using medical ninjutsu to restore Orochimaru's wound. And Orochimaru snorted coldly, pushed Yakushi Kabuto away, picked up the broken arm on the ground, and pressed it directly on the broken arm with pain. Countless tiny snakes directly connected Orochimaru's arms and body. He moved his severed arm, and there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Ye Shenyue, you guy. Seeing that the Kusanagi sword, which can cut even apes and demons, was cut off by the Tiankongyun sword in Ye Shenyue's hand, he didn't know how to describe his feelings. You really dare to connect this arm. Ye Shenyue smiled coldly. I'm not afraid of any hands and feet inside. As soon as the words fell, the severed arm held by the big snake exploded directly. In the burst of golden light, Orochimaru let out a miserable howl, rolling and crawling directly on the ground. And half of his body was already dead and burned. At 2h at carat at plus. Damn it. Orochimaru stood up, and now he felt that his body didn't even listen to his means. While using medical ninjutsu to heal his body, he looked at Jiraiya, snorted coldly, and said dissatisfied, it seems that you really found a good apprentice. You can do things that even you can't do. Quote. Orochimaru is very convinced that he is only a little away from completely abandoning this body. If the power of the explosion was a little more terrifying, even he would have to quickly find a place to prepare for rebirth. As long as he can teach himself, he will not care about the rest. Advertisement. Orochimaru gritted his teeth, a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. Orochimaru's body was transformed with the body of the experimental subject, and half of the body was connected. Since Orochimaru-sama wants Sasuke so much, I'll just bring you back. Kimimaro smiled faintly, pulled off the tube from his body, and sat up. This thing is no more reliable than Orochimaru. Looking at Yakushi Kabuto who was supporting him, Orochimaru said unwillingly, we will have a date later. Can you? Your body is reaching its limit. Yakushi Kabuto said hastily. And Sasuke also nodded in satisfaction, a trace of joy flashed in his eyes. He was really hesitant before whether to join Orochimaru. Sasuke hurriedly followed, for fear of neglecting Ye Shenyue. It's as if I'm going to die now. Hey, don't worry about it, just go. Ye Shenyue waved his hand impatiently, but he was only leaving for a few days. Where did this nonsense come from? And Kimimaro stood on the ground, moving his wrist, a trace of firmness flashed in his eyes. As long as I can do something for Lord Orochimaru in the end, I will be satisfied. Seeing Naruto go away, Sasuke also had a resolute face, looked at Ye Shenyue, hesitated for a while, and said to him, Ye Shenyue. I hope you can teach me. All he wanted was Uchiha Sasuke's body, but this body made him so difficult. And Naruto turned his head and looked at the boss, seeming to be a little worried. Boss. You must take care of yourself. But now it seems that Ye Shenyue is enough. What about Orochimaru? His body has also reached its limit, and now it is like a flower that is about to wither, with all kinds of tubes inserted into his body. Advertisement. Then, he left here with Naruto. Ye Shenyue is not a talkative guy, what he does is just to save his worry. He sat on a stone beside him, looked at Ye Shenyue solemnly, although your strength is very good, it is estimated that Orochimaru is also eyeing you now. I'm afraid there will be no shortage of revenge. Jiraiya nodded slightly, then looked at Naruto at the side. Me and Naruto are now going to find the remaining Sannin Tsunade, and I will also teach him ACCJ ninjutsu, and the rest will be left to you. Seeing Orochimaru's defeat, Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. This Orochimaru is gone, but this injury doesn't affect him at all. I know this guy. After a long while, Sasuke gritted his teeth and said with determination, no matter what it is, I can accept it. As long as you can give me the power to kill Uchiha Itachi. Then, he and Yakushi Kabuto disappeared directly in place. That's easy. Ye Shenyue smiled faintly. Really? Ye Shenyue raised his eyebrows. Cultivating with me will not yield good results. Cough cough. Kimimaro's cough came from the hospital bed not far away. And in Yinran village. Okay. Then you can go fishing with me. Ye Shenyue took out the Wanji fishing rod, and walked towards the river humming a little tune. Damn it. The time for living corpse reincarnation is coming soon, and this body has also reached its limit. Ye Shenyue shook her head slowly. It's just revenge. It's bullshit to me. Because of Kimimaro's blood succession limit, he can be said to have reached the end of his life. Sasuke trembled all over, remembering the inhuman treatment he received at the hands of Ye Shenyue before the third exam. At the same time, through Yakushi Kabuto's superb medical ninjutsu, Orochimaru barely kept this body. Chapter 119 Peeping Tom, Kimimaro. For more, please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Riverside. Sasuke was lying on the ground covered in dust, with scars all over his body, howling constantly. Ye Shenyue on the side yawned while holding the fishing rod, and casually said to Sasuke, you guy, you are so unreliable, even I can't beat you. And Sasuke spit out the potion of Ye Shenyue's characteristic on his body, and immediately grinned again. He challenged Ye Shenyue just now to try his weight, but Ye Shenyue easily hung him up and beat him. This simply destroyed Sasuke's self-confidence. He never thought that Ye Shenyue would beat him so badly. He gritted his teeth. Ye Shenyue, don't hit me so hard. I'm covered in injuries. Ye Shenyue glanced at Sasuke, and snorted coldly, you bastard, you want to become stronger quickly, and want to be comfortable, do you think you are an uncle? And Ye Shenyue suddenly felt the fishing rod in his hand tighten, and a trace of joy flashed in his eyes, I'm hooked. However, when he lifted the fishing rod, he saw a person jumping directly in front of him. Can this still catch someone? Ye Shenyue's eyes widened. He has never seen his pen catch anyone yet. Is this too pervert? And the next moment, he discovered the importance of the matter. Advertisement. It's Kimimaro. Ye Shenyue's pupils immediately shrank to the tip of a needle. This guy actually wanted to sneak attack him at this time. It's so pervert. It's even peeping at people fishing. However, Kimimaro's target seems not to be himself, but to see Sasuke who was healing on the side. Sasuke had just applied the potion all over his body, and his wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Before he could rejoice, he saw Kimimaro jumping on his face. FK. Where did this guy jump out from? Sasuke hurriedly avoided, but saw Kimimaro ignoring Ye Shenyue, and said to Sasuke, come back with me, Master Orochimaru needs you. Orochimaru. Hearing the name, Sasuke shook his head like a rattle, I won't go. There is no good fruit to eat with him. Kimimaro snorted coldly, since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless, I don't have much time, and you have to live to see Master Orochi. After that, he stretched out his hand and grabbed Sasuke's throat directly. Sasuke snorted coldly, kicked Kimimaro's hand directly, then took out a kunai, and stabbed Kimimaro's neck. Want me to go find Orochimaru? Dreaming, Sasuke said viciously. And Kimimaro frowned slightly, and then a string of bones jumped out of his hand, which turned into a sharp blade, directly blocking kunai. You guy, you won't wake up until the end. Kimimaro smiled coldly, and then his eyes gradually became colder. As for myself, it is estimated that I will not be far from death by then. Sasuke, you are really stubborn, but Master Orochimaru is not something you can defile. Sasuke's eyes gradually turned cold, and the three-tomo Sharingan was turned on, staring at Kimimaro. Advertisement. A bone expanded from his body, almost becoming a huge bone shield, blocking the punch for him. 0. Asking for flowers. Damn it. Sasuke used the Sharingan to avoid several phalanges, but he still couldn't dodge the last phalanx, the speed is so fast. Kimimaro sneered, and the bone blade in his hand ruthlessly swept towards Sasuke's throat. At the same time that the fireball exploded, the phalanx pierced directly into Sasuke's body. When he saw Kimimaro's blood succession boundary, he also frowned, knowing that this guy is not that simple. Immediately, Kimimaro flew out and hit the stone beside him. 0. This kind of strength is worthy of Orochimaru's attention. You should be excited to be a part of Orochimaru. Kimimaro looked at Sasuke seriously and said, like me, even if you want to dedicate to Orochimaru my lord, he won't need me, that's the difference between us. After all, Ye Shenyue really helped him gain great strength, this cannot be denied. Sasuke has now discovered that following Orochimaru is not as good as following Ye Shenyue. At least even Orochimaru stumbled in the hands of Ye Shenyue. Dance of Tang Song. Countless bones exploded from Kimimaro's body, wrapping his body tightly. He doesn't believe that Sasuke can't even deal with an old, weak and sick man. Fire-style great fireball technique. Sasuke spit out a large stream of flames in an instant, and rushed towards Kimimaro. I will never surrender to Orochimaru no matter what. Sasuke's Sharingan was constantly analyzing Kimimaro's movements. He gritted his teeth and avoided the thrust, and then hit Kimimaro hard with a backhand punch. Seeing that Ye Shenyue's buttocks seemed to be glued to the glue, Sasuke felt a chill in his heart, and guessed that Ye Shenyue was really going to give up on himself. Advertisement. Sasuke, I have to take it back, as long as I can bring Sasuke back alive, I can give it to Lord Orochimaru. Sasuke, if you can't beat him, don't follow me. Shame. Bang. Orochimaru's body is about to reach its limit, and he is about to die, so it can be said that he doesn't have much time. His phalanx shot from his hand towards Sasuke in an instant, piercing through the seemingly incomparably powerful flame. Be a part of that ghost thing. You are insulting me. Sasuke instantly became angry. Fire-style dragon fire technique. Sasuke jumped away in a hurry, dodging Kimimimaro's attack. His eyes became strange. You still have such an incredible ability. Is it the blood succession limit? A thick pillar of fire exploded directly from his mouth, spraying towards Kimimaro. Seeing the flames burning towards him, Kimimaro snorted coldly and stretched out his hands, 10 fingers pierced. But when Kimimaro stood up, he just patted the dust off his shoulder. And Kimimaro sneered, leapt high, and instantly stretched out a huge bone spike from his hand. The stone was instantly smashed to pieces by Kimimaro. He hurriedly looked at Ye Shenyue, his eyes full of expectation. Ye Shenyue. Hurry up and solve this ninja with hyperosteogeny with me. Ye Shenyue shrugged his shoulders, knowing that Kimimaro had no extra time to spend with himself, so he just sat on the small bench and couldn't get up. He can now see through Kimimaro's every move and is confident that he can handle this guy. Damn, even if I die, I won't go back with you to find the damn Orochimaru. Chapter 120 Blood Successor Boundary Bone. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The flame rushed to Kimimaro's body, but it seemed to be on a solid rock. Under the bones of Kimimaro, not a single hair was injured. Dance of the Iron Flower. Kimimaro snorted coldly, and the spine on his back was pulled out fiercely, immediately wrapped around Sasuke's body, and at the same time his arm was tightly wrapped by bones, turning into a spear. The restrained Sasuke's eyes gradually became vicious. The opponent is so strong, what would Naruto do? Sasuke gritted his teeth, and the curse mark on his body began to spread. Spreading along with the seal, there is also Sasuke's icy chakra and terrifying power. Chidori Ryu. Sasuke yelled loudly, and countless thunderbolts jumped up from his body, covering his whole body. The terrifying and destructive power of lightning style was also shown in Ultimate at this time. In September 23rd, the bones wrapped around Sasuke's body were broken layer by layer. It's really capable of breaking even the strongest spine. Kimimaro put down the bone spear in his hand, looked at Sasuke with a little admiration. He really deserves to be the person that Master Orochimaru misses in his heart. And Ye Shenyue is also a little surprised that this Sasuke has comprehended Chidori style by himself now. Moreover, Chidori can be used to such a degree, it seems that Sasuke's talent has also been gradually stimulated. Chidori. Sasuke yelled loudly, and the curse-printed chakra was poured into Chidori, and at the same time, he kept running towards Kimimaro. And Kimimaro snorted coldly, raised the bone spear in his hand, and stabbed Sasuke fiercely. Advertisement. The spear and Chidori collided directly. Numerous jumping electric arcs spread across Sasuke's body, and at the same time Chidori's power was almost pushed to the peak of an ultimate existence in an instant. The strong electric current continuously tore Kimimaro's bones, and Sasuke himself felt a strong impact. Immediately, the two backed away. This time, they fought evenly. You bloody bastard. Sasuke panted heavily, with a hint of fear in his eyes. There is such a powerful blood successor boundary. And Kimimaro looked into Sasuke's eyes and said, your Sharingan is the most powerful existence in my eyes, but it is still far behind your big brother. He shook his head slightly. Indeed, compared with Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke's Sengoku is nothing, and there is no need to compare it. And Sasuke snorted coldly, and the curse marks on his body changed again. He resolutely opened the second stage of the curse seal. Under the current situation, he can't guarantee that he can directly defeat Kimimaro. Seeing Sasuke's curse mark, Kimimaro showed a trace of dissatisfaction on his face, using the power given by Lord Orochimaru, but resisting Orochimaru, you should really be killed. After that, he pulled out his bone knife again. However, I will not kill you. As soon as the words fell, his figure was lightning fast, and he jumped directly behind Sasuke. However, Sasuke saw all this with Sharingan, he let out a loud shout, and the extremely black Chidori in his hand exploded directly on Kimimaro's bone knife. Lightning flew across the sky, and the bone knife shattered inch by inch, but Kimimaro let out a loud cry, and pulled out the bone knife again with his other hand, slashing at Sasuke fiercely. It brushed directly from Sasuke's cheek, and fell aside with a trace of blood. Advertisement. At the same time, Kimimaro also decisively opened the second stage of the spell. Kimimaro, who had activated the spell seal, was more like a mad dog, rushing towards Sasuke continuously. Tsubaki dance. Kimimaro held a bone knife, and his movements began to become weird and unpredictable, and the bone knife in his hand was changing, dazzling. A guy like Naruto might have fallen directly on top of it, but Sasuke has the blessing of Sharingan, so he can deal with this kind of attack with ease. You want to kill me with such power, you are thinking too much. Sasuke snorted coldly, and the offensive in his hands became more fierce. For a moment, Kimimaro's eyes also flashed a trace of surprise, this Sasuke can be evenly matched with him in the current situation. Yinin village. Orochimaru looked at his connected body, a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. Do sighed, Kimimaro's time is coming soon. Orochimaru nodded, I can feel that the current Kimimaro is fighting with the curse seal. His body can't withstand such overdraft, but it would be good if he can bring people back. It's just a pity that I don't have much time. Orochimaru looked at his body, a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes. If it wasn't for that guy Ye Shenyue, maybe he could really bring Sasuke back, but now it seems that it is even more difficult. 10,000 snakes died in the hands of that guy. If Kimimaro can't bring Sasuke back, we should also be prepared. Do clenched his teeth, I captured a lot of experimental subjects, and I can choose one of them to be Sasuke's substitute. There is no substitute for Sasuke, he is absolutely unique. Orochimaru showed a trace of dissatisfaction on his face, but if that time really comes, this is the only way we can do it. At that time, it will take another 3 years before the living corpse reincarnation can be used again. He clenched his fists, and his heart became anxious. Advertisement. And by the river, Kimimaro was out of breath, and the bone knife in his hand was stained with a trace of blood. This is exactly Sasuke's blood. Sasuke panted heavily, covering his arms with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Sasuke didn't expect that it would be so reluctant to face Kimimimaro's offensive even though he had the curse mark. It seems that I really can't underestimate this damn guy. Sasuke, you are still much more tenacious than I thought, but now it seems that you are bound to die. 5.2. Kimimaro walked slowly towards Sasuke. Suddenly, he stopped. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression also became depressed. What's going on? I obviously didn't hurt him just now. A trace of doubt flashed in Sasuke's eyes. Could it be that he has a disease? Kimimaro looked at the blood on his hands, and a trace of anxiety flashed in his eyes. He looked at Sasuke and snorted coldly, and said, Orochimaru is still waiting for me. I have to take you back. After all, countless bone knives appeared in his hands again, and countless bones sprang out from the skin on his body. Kimimaro, who played the blood succession limit to the fullest, locked his eyes firmly on Sasuke. Looking at his time now, he couldn't afford to waste it. Chapter 121 Kill. The end of the crossbow. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sasuke chuckled. He didn't believe that Kimimaro could really bring himself back. In the Sharingan, a ray of scarlet light suddenly appeared. His body was as fast as lightning, and the pitch-black Chidori infused with the power of the curse mark in his hand also stabbed fiercely at Kimimaro's throat. This blow was almost running to take his life. Chidori. Sasuke yelled loudly. The Chidori in his hand burst into a black light, and amidst the lightning flashes, the penetrating power was also pushed to ultimate in an instant. And Kimimaro looked at Sasuke, just snorted coldly, pulled out the bone knife, and under the blessing of the power of the spell seal, his chakra almost became infinite. At the same time, his bone density has also been unprecedentedly improved. Dance of the Iron Flower. A series of bones burst out from Kimimaro's palm, directly binding Sasuke. Then he suddenly pulled Sasuke towards him, and at the same time raised the bone knife in his hand. Facing Kimimaro's offensive, Sasuke didn't hesitate at all. He knew that there was no possibility for him to escape now. The Chidori in his hand is also at this moment, one is directly protecting his chest, and he too wants to follow the speed of Kimimaro to further enhance the power of his Chidori. At this moment, the bone knife and Chidori collided directly, and rays of light shot out. Cough. Sasuke spat out a mouthful of blood from his throat, and the powerful penetrating force even penetrated his arm and directly vibrated into his internal organs. Simply having the power of the spell to continuously improve his state, otherwise, this time, he would really faint on the spot. Advertisement. However, Kimimaro's bone knife was bombarded inch by inch, and Chidori even smashed the bone knife, stabbing Kimimaro's chest on the spot. How is it possible? Kimimaro snorted. Even though there were countless bone defenses in his chest, he still let Sasuke penetrate his chest. Blood gushed out from the wound, and Kimimaro's own eyes were blurred. The original curse seal almost hollowed out his body, but this Chidori almost directly pierced his entire body on the spot. Let his body be like a balloon with a hole, and life is constantly leaking out of the hole. Puff. Sasuke withdrew his arm and looked at Kimimaro with dull eyes. And Kimimaro's mouth also spattered out a stream of blood, and the whole person fell directly to the ground. Blood leaked out from the wound, and Kimimaro on the ground also looked at Sasuke and clenched his teeth. Sure enough, with such strength, it's no wonder that he is the man Orochimaru-sama likes. It's just a pity that I can't help Orochimaru-sama take you back. The last dance of the early Fern. As soon as the words fell, he let out a loud shout, and the power of the curse seal poured out of his body continuously, urging the Shuiji boundary, and the powerful force penetrated the entire land. And Ye Shenyue stood on the bone spur, looked at Kimimaro, just snorted coldly, and said disdainfully, I'm too lazy to fight with the old, weak, sick and disabled. Seeing the bone spur stabbing towards him slowly towards the ground, Ye Shenyue slightly tapped his finger, and a golden light shot out, instantly blasting the bone spur into pieces. Sasuke's figure was wobbly, and he was about to fall almost at any time, but if he landed on the bone spur, he would definitely die on the spot. Advertisement. Kimimaro gave a smirk, and then his eyes became determined. If I didn't have sparkling fruit, maybe I would be really dangerous. Bang. Sure enough, this is indeed a bit weird. The terrain was even abruptly changed by Kimimaro's power. Its speed even turned his figure into lightning. Kimimaro jumped high, waved the bone knife in his hand, and stabbed Ye Shenyue's face again. Is it over? A trace of surprise flashed in Sasuke's eyes, but he never thought that this Kimimaro was such a terrible opponent. And Ye Shenyue stood on a bone spur, squinted slightly at his opponent, and couldn't help but gasped. At this moment, the entire land almost changed its appearance. It's just that he didn't expect that the fierce attack just now didn't kill Ye Shenyue. This time, he used his last strength to kill Ye Shenyue directly here. He shook his head slowly, and looked at Sasuke, who was also panting heavily, flying in midair. Countless bone spurs grew on the ground, and Fang Yuan was hundreds of meters away, and there was almost no place to stay. The power of the curse seal was activated again, making Kimimaro's eyes dimmed even though he didn't have much strength in the first place. He had already seen that Kimimaro was just at the end of his battle. This powerful and terrifying destructive power was brought into full play at this moment. Everything around him was being destroyed by bone spurs, even Sasuke was a little surprised. He couldn't believe it, whether it was Kimimaro's power or not. Advertisement. I saw the ground trembling constantly, and countless huge, thick and sharp bone spurs grew continuously from the ground. Sasuke is chosen by Master Orochimaru. I can't kill him, but that doesn't mean you can't kill him. Kimimaro gritted his teeth. His goal from the very beginning was Ye Shenyue. Sasuke didn't dare to be careless, and hurriedly flew into the air with the wings on his back, constantly avoiding the bone spurs that stabbed him repeatedly. He is not dead, it is simply unacceptable. What's going on? Sasuke looked around, and saw that the trees and rocks on the side were almost turned into dust in an instant. Chidori. Sasuke urged Chidori again and smashed a bone spur that wanted to stab himself into pieces. Click. However, no matter what the reason is, I must get you here. Kimimaro clenched his teeth. He wants to use his last strength to clear the way for Orochimaru. Originally, he was seriously ill, but now he even overdraws his body with the second curse and seal, and uses the blood succession boundary on such a large scale. I saw the bone knife was caught by Ye Shenyue with one hand, and the expressionless Ye Shenyue raised the Tien Kongyan sword and directly swept Kimimaro's throat. Countless bone spurs shattered, and a figure 347 burst out from them. This blood successor boundary even surprised him for a moment, but he never thought that blood succession boundary could have such a powerful destructive power. However, these countless irregular and terrifying thorns rushed out again, and in an instant, it was almost like tearing Sasuke's whole body apart. Kimimaro's face immediately became ugly, and everything in front of him was gradually blurred, but he still stabbed the bone knife at Ye Shenyue. Chapter 122 Hundreds of Gus compete. Third watch. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Blood sprayed continuously from Kimimaro's throat. This sword directly opened Kimimaro's artery. He clutched his throat in vain, trying not to let himself lose too much blood. At the same time, his body fell to the ground like a fallen leaf, his pupils dilated, and he lost any strength. He could only slowly say with his last strength, Master Orochimaru, it seems that I am not their opponent yet. Finally, under the double destruction of the curse mark in the wound, Kimimaro burst out with blood all over his body, and closed his eyes directly. Panting heavily, Sasuke also found an open space to land and lifted the second seal. Now Sasuke can ignore the harm to the body caused by opening the spell seal for a long time. Looking at Kimimaro's body, Sasuke seemed to be dreaming. I never thought that such a powerful guy would be killed by Ye Shenyue. He looked at Sasuke, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Only then did he realize that the Ye Shenyue technique is much stronger than he thought. Ye Shenyue shook his head helplessly. At this moment he also didn't know whether this Sasuke was really stupid or not. Kimimaro was at the end of his battle a long time ago, and coming here with a serious illness this time was a gamble in itself. Maybe he just wanted to make his final death worthwhile. In fact, coming here is just giving away heads. Let's go. This place is already ruined. Let's go fishing in another place. Ye Shenyue sighed. It was so difficult to find a suitable place for fishing, and Kimimaro put up so many big bone sticks. Advertisement. Too much atmosphere. Sasuke gritted his teeth and just said to Ye Shenyue, anyway, you have to teach me how to gain the power to kill Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi. Ye Shenyue said, then you just follow up. After 2 days, when Naruto comes back, we will practice together. Sasuke nodded and followed Ye Shenyue directly. Yinan village. Watching the flowers in the vase beside him lose their last leaves, Orochimaru also had some premonitions in his heart. It seems that Kimimaro still failed. Pipe. Quote. Orochimaru's tone was very calm, as if he had foreseen this matter long ago. Ahem. Orochimaru coughed up blood again. Before that, Ye Shenyue seriously injured Orochimaru, which accelerated the speed of the body's breakdown. Now, this body has reached its final moment, and it may not even last a day without reincarnation. Yakushi Kabuto took care of Orochimaru eagerly, and at the same time comforted, it's okay, maybe Kimimaro will be back soon. It's useless, the curse seal of the earth has disappeared. Orochimaru squinted his eyes slightly, he had already clearly felt that the power of the curse seal of the earth disappeared without a trace in an instant. There is only one such situation, and that is that Kimimaro is dead. Then what should we do? Who else can be your reincarnation container? Yakushi Kabuto gritted his teeth. Orochimaru might be killed on the spot in the next second. At this moment, he is still not at ease. Body of advertisement. Orochimaru looked at Yakushi Kabuto and smiled. I didn't expect you to still miss me now, you still have a little conscience. But if I die, this Yinan village will fall into your hands, and you will even get me. Are you not tempted by all the research results? Yakushi Kabuto's face was covered with cold sweat. He hurriedly shook his head, and said to Orochimaru, it is impossible for me to think that way. Master Orochimaru must believe me. Indeed, Yakushi Kabuto himself understands that if Orochimaru really dies, he will even take his own body. So if you help Orochimaru now, you are helping yourself. Take me to prison. Orochimaru said to Yakushi Kabuto, let me choose who can be my container. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. Yakushi Kabuto hastily lifted Orochimaru onto the wheelchair and pushed him to the prison of Odonan village. In prison, 100 people stood in a clearing, and Yakushi Kabuto and Orochimaru stood on a raised platform. It's like a nobleman watching the ancient Roman arena. Only one of you can survive, and that person will become Orochimaru's container. If you don't agree, we will kill your relatives too, Yakushi Kabuto said viciously to the crowd. These people are all ninjas captured by Yinan village from all over the world, and they are also the escape route that Orochimaru left for himself. The crowd looked at each other in blank dismay, then gritted their teeth, picked up their weapons, and made a massacre. Orochimaru looked at the people killing each other below, and there was no emotion in his eyes, as if it was just a group of ants who were killing each other now. A trace of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. Advertisement. There is still a gap with Sasuke, but in the current situation, it is not bad to have such a sacrifice. Orochimaru untied the bandage wrapped around his hand, only to see that the skin was blackened and necrotic, with blood seeping out from the cracks. Seeing this scene, Yakushi Kabuto's eyes flashed a trace of unbearable. He gritted his teeth and said to Orochimaru, backquote, Master Orochimaru, hold on a little longer, the final candidate will be determined soon. Quote. HMPH, you are my confidant, tell the truth, which one of them can catch up to 1% of Sasuke? Orochimaru looked at the crowd who were fighting below with contempt, even without blood boundaries, even mediocre talents, if it wasn't for the critical moment, how could I choose them? Do was silent for a moment, gritted his teeth, it's all because of my incompetence. If I work harder, maybe I can bring Sasuke back during the Chunin exam. Enough, I'm not listening to you to self-criticize, I just want to ask you, when can I get Sasuke again the soonest? Li Nuzhao, Shiwan's voice became extremely hoarse, and his body was almost on the verge of collapse. 3 years. Living corpse reincarnation can only be used again after 3 years. We have accumulated strength for 3 years, and strive to bring Sasuke back again after 3 years. Do murmured, I am willing to issue a military order. If Sasuke makes any mistakes, I can even guarantee it with my life. Forget it, if you are all dead, I will have no one to use. Orochimaru snorted coldly. At this time, the last person standing on the ground, covered in blood, looked at Orochimaru with a vicious expression. Orochimaru looked at this person and asked with a sneer, what request do you have? You can ask Yang now. Orochimaru, I hope you can spare my family. The ninja panted, looking at Orochimaru with a flash of fear in his eyes. Orochimaru chuckled and said to the man, yes. Chapter 123 3 years later, rapid progress. 4 more. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. 3 years later. During this period, Naruto and Jiraiya's successful Tsunade brought back and successfully succeeded 5th Hokage. And Sarutobi Hiruzen is also lying in the courtyard of the nursing home basking in the sun every day, occasionally answering some Jonin's doubts. As for the 7th class, under the leadership of Ye Shenyue, they used various inhumane training methods to find ways to make them stronger. When 3 years have passed, Sasuke can even master various Chidori ninjutsu with ease. Even the Kusanagi sword that Orochimaru had broken before was successfully picked up by Ye Shenyue and played by Sasuke. 3 Tomo Sharingan is also easy to control, and the power of the curse seal has also been developed to the limit. As for Naruto, the mastery of 9 Tails chakra is even more relaxed, and he can even use the tail beast coat in 6 Tails state without disturbing his spirit. As for 6 Tails, Ye Shenyue still never dared Naruto to try. Because of his behavior of opening the crack of the seal, 9 Tails was angered. If it weren't for the existence of the seal, 9 Tails might run out of Naruto's body directly and kill Ye Shenyue himself. This fox, I must find time to teach him a good lesson. Ye Shenyue 973 snorted coldly. In the past 3 years, Naruto and Sasuke's cultivation has reached Jonin's strength, and Ye Shenyue himself has Kage-level strength. If he was to deal with Orochimaru again, Ye Shenyue was naturally confident that he could kill this disgusting guy directly. Advertisement. It's been 3 years, it's time for the Akatsuki organization to act. Ye Shenyue let out a long sigh. Calculating the time, it would not be long before Gaara, the cage, was about to be beaten up. In 3 years, it is estimated that the Akatsuki organization has already collected enough information about tailed beasts, and the collection of tailed beasts will start soon. In short, at this time, I still have to be careful with Naruto. On this day, the 7th class gathered again at the practice site after training. 3 years later, Kakashi looked at these 4 people who had practiced for 3 years, and some relief flashed in his eyes. 3 years have passed, it seems that you have all grown up a lot. He smiled, looked at Ye Shenyue, Sasuke, Naruto and little Sakura, rubbed his hands together with a look of relief, let's grab the bell again. After all, he took out AC/DC, 3 bells, put them on his waist, and said to the 3 of them, let's start. As soon as the voice fell, Sasuke couldn't hold back his excitement, flashed directly behind Kakashi, and at the same time punched Kakashi hard. For a moment, the 2 pairs of dead fish eyes met together. Mr. Kakashi, let me show you my new ninjutsu. A trace of excitement flashed in Naruto's eyes. He said it was a new ninjutsu, but in fact he had successfully practiced it 2 years ago. And Sasuke's face was also green. In the past 3 years, he was beaten by Ye Shenyue. It has already reached the limit of shape change. If it is integrated into the attribute change, it may be even stronger. Kakashi took a breath, and was directly pressed hard on the chest by Big Ball Rasengan. It's that blood successor limit again. Kakashi's eyes widened, and he saw the bell on his waist being held by Ye Shenyue in an instant. Advertisement. Kakashi snorted coldly, if you have the ability, you can grab my bell in the next second. If you can't do it, then stop talking. With a bang, Kakashi instantly disappeared into smoke. It hurts. Naruto flew upside down, lying on the side, rubbing his chin, feeling staring. Hey, teacher Kakashi, how's it going? Naruto was not worried about seriously injuring Kakashi, because he also believed that Kakashi would not be such a noob. I saw Ye Shenyue suddenly appearing in front of Kakashi, completely ignoring Kakashi, reaching out to reach for the bell on Kakashi's waist. Huh, I almost got hit. It's too dangerous. Kakashi rubbed his fists, looking like he was alive after a catastrophe. Mr. Kakashi, do you think your bell will be on your body next second? It really is Shadow Clone. Naruto clenched his teeth. At this moment Kakashi broke through the ground and punched Naruto on the chin with an uppercut. Kakashi sucked in a breath of cold air. It seems that the last time Uchiha Itachi was violently beaten, it still had a great impact on Sasuke. Looking at Big Ball Rasengan, Kakashi couldn't believe that Naruto could develop Rasengan to this extent. Ye Shenyue put her hands in her pockets and looked at Kakashi quietly. Kakashi immediately took a few steps back, squeezed his arms, and couldn't help but feel a little numb. Ye Shenyue yawned and said casually. Looking at the bell on Ye Shenyue's hand, Kakashi also smiled. Ye Shenyue, it seems that you have made progress. As for Sasuke and Naruto, you are also good. To reach this point in 3 years is already very good. Where did you go? Kakashi's pupils shrank to the point of a needle, and now he couldn't believe that Ye Shenyue's speed was so fast. Advertisement. Listening to the crisp sound of the bell, the faces of Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto were full of surprise. But Ye Shenyue smiled and looked at Kakashi's fist protruding towards him. He shook his whole body and turned into photons, allowing Kakashi's fist to pass through his body. In the next second, Ye Shenyue disappeared in place. He still doesn't want to believe that the current Ye Shenyue has this ability. Not daring to be careless, he hastily raised his arm to block the punch. As for Naruto, at this time he rubbed Big Ball Rasengan directly and rushed towards Kakashi. Ye Shenyue, do you dare to ignore me after 3 years of absence? It's a lot of courage. Kakashi snorted coldly, and suddenly felt as if he hadn't been on the house for 3 days. Uzumaki Naruto even exclaimed, "Boss, you are even stronger than I thought." Afterwards, Ye Shenyue jumped back, shook the bell in his hand, and said to Kakashi, "Teacher. This is my bell. What, did I win?" Faced with this sudden attack, Kakashi's eyes flashed a trace of fear. He never thought that this Sasuke would have such a deep hidden power. Even because of his face as a teacher, he didn't want to believe that he would lose to Ye Shenyue. That's right, we are not like Mr. Kakashi, who are directly hollowed out by various books. Looking at it now, Ye Shenyue may not have used his full strength yet. And the next moment, he saw Ye Shenyue slowly standing in front of him. This strength and speed, I can't believe it's the old Sasuke. Chapter 124 Art is Explosion. Open black lens bracket and update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Outside Sunagaku. Ye Shenyue led Sasuke and Naruto to ambush not far away, sitting quietly. It was getting late, Naruto couldn't help it, and asked Ye Shenyue, "Boss, why are we waiting here? Is there anything good here?" Ye Shenyue gave Naruto a blank look. "Good thing. Do you think I applied to come here for something good? Let me tell you, someone will come soon." "Who?" Sasuke asked suspiciously. Sasuke still has an understanding of Ye Shenyue now, knowing that this person will never do some inexplicable things. "This time I came to Sunagaku, probably also has his unique purpose." Ye Shenyue smiled faintly. "You will understand soon." After a while, 2 figures came to the periphery of Sunagaku. They all wore red cloud robes and walked quietly on the desert. Seeing the red cloud robe, Sasuke almost jumped up. That's the same clothes as Itachi. What's the relationship between them and Itachi? Ye Shenyue glanced at Deidara and Scorpion, and said in a low voice, "These two are of course Itachi's teammates, but they don't act together, so we don't need to rush to do it now." Sasuke nodded. "A person from the Akatsuki organization, right? Why not do it now?" "Stupid." Ye Shenyue knocked Sasuke on the head, and said dissatisfiedly, "You idiot. If we fight them as Konoha shinobi fighters now, what will the people of Sunagaku think of us? Why don't we wait until they lose both? If you make a move, you can still get the image of a good person." Advertisement. "I see." Sasuke nodded and fell silent for a while. Outside Sunagaku, Scorpion stopped, looked at Deidara and said slowly, "You go first, remember to bring one-tail Jinchuriki back." The young Deidara smiled. "Of course it is possible, don't underestimate my art." He stretched out his hand, took out a clay flying bird, and made it on top of the flying bird overlooking the entire Sunagaku. "Are there 3 ninjas observing the sky?" Deidara chuckled, took out the clay spider and threw it on the ground. As soon as the clay spider landed, it seemed as if it had been given life. It climbed up along the wall and stuck to the feet of the 3 people. One of the ninjas found the spider and asked in confusion, "What kind of weird thing is this? Why have I never seen it in Sunagaku?" As soon as the voice fell, there was a bang. It exploded instantly. The 3 of them were instantly blown to pieces and fell to the ground. Deidara in the sky snorted dissatisfiedly, and said, "You actually said that my art is weird. It's simply incompetent." Then, he looked around and clicked his tongue. "This Sunagaku building is really art, but that's okay, I can have more inspiration to create new art." However, the next second Deidara found a figure standing in front of him. "Thousand Bird Blade." Sasuke yelled loudly, and the Kusanagi sword brought a flash of thunder, and directly smashed everything sticky Asuka. It was Gaara. There are no strange birds of this species in Sunagaku, and you probably don't know that yet. Gaara glanced at the clothes Deidara was wearing, and instantly recognized his identity. Advertisement. He took out a huge clay doll and was about to throw it to the ground when he felt an evil chakra spreading. Then, he took out a lump of detonating clay in his hand. "Just like you, killing Itachi is also my goal. Now let's see who is stronger, we can kill Itachi." Sasuke was taken aback for a moment, then took out the Kusanagi sword. A layer of lightning-style chakra was instantly attached to the Kusanagi sword. At this moment, Gaara stepped on a pile of sand and floated in front of him, and said to him, "Who are you?" Just as he was about to open the battle line, he saw a figure floating in front of him. And Deidara frowned in confusion. "How did you find me?" Seeing the clay bird, Ye Shenyue smiled and said to Sasuke, "Use your lightning style to deal with him. His ninjutsu is earth-style ninjutsu. Your lightning style can just restrain it." While raising Rasengan, he shouted excitedly, "Boss, do you think I'm handsome?" And Deidara dodged the giant sand hand nimbly, and frowned slightly. "The opponent is in a favorable position, so it's really not easy for me to attack." As soon as the words fell, the clay bird directly blasted towards Sasuke. This person is none other than Sasuke. It turned out to be like this, thank you all. Gaara took a deep breath and said, "Without you, maybe Sunagaku would be really dangerous." What Deidara didn't expect was that the clay bird cut by lightning-style chakra did not move at all, and fell directly to the ground. Looking at the clay bird, Sasuke's eyes showed a trace of fear, and Deidara also smiled, "Let you see my art." And Sasuke looked at Ye Shenyue, and said worriedly, "My flying speed can't catch up with him, you have to be careful." Advertisement. Ye Shenyue explained, "We got the information before that the Akatsuki organization will come to capture one-tail Jinchuriki, so we ambushed here first. As for why we didn't inform you, it's actually because we don't want to kill the snake." What's going on? Deidara was taken aback for a moment, and suddenly found a person lying on the ground at this moment. Damn it, if you can't fly, that's trouble. Ye Shenyue snorted coldly. Sasuke turned on the spell seal 2 mode, flew in midair, and met Deidara just in time. At the same time, Ye Shenyue was also held in his arms. What? My art didn't explode. Deidara stepped back hurriedly, wanting to see what was going on. Damn it, I really can't let you go away like this. Gritting her teeth, Deidara shouted, no. 18. And Gaara looked at them, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. It's you from Konoha. Why did you come here? Countless condensed together, a giant hand grabbed towards Deidara. 0. Asking for flowers. Akatsuki organization. It's exactly the same as what the newspaper said. He opened his arms. And Deidara saw Sasuke's eyes, and also discovered Sasuke's identity. Uzumaki Naruto was lying on the ground, wrapped in the tail beast chakra, showing the state of 3 tails. It's 9 tails Jinchuriki. Surprise, surprise. Deidara chuckled, but in the next second, Naruto stretched out the tail beast chakra's arm and pinched Deidara directly. What's going on? Deidara was startled, and then Naruto shouted loudly, holding Scarlet's Rasengan in his hand, and pulled himself towards Deidara. Sharingan, are you Itachi's younger brother? It's a surprise that you guys are here. Chapter 125. It's up to you. Second update. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Rasengan that incorporates the tailed beast chakra is extremely red, and the ominous tailed beast chakra is constantly gushing out from it. In addition, Naruto's mastery of chakra has also improved his mastery of chakra accuracy. Seeing such an attack, Deidara was naturally panicked, but at this moment, he was tightly bound by the big hand transformed into the tailed beast chakra, which almost made him unable to move. Poof! Naruto's Rasengan went straight through Deidara's chest. However, there was no blood splatter as everyone had imagined. I saw that Deidara's body instantly lost its color, and countless clay spewed out from the hole. What is this? Naruto was taken aback, but he had never seen such a situation. Clay clone. Ye Shenyue raised his eyebrows. 190. Naruto. Go back. However, Naruto hardly had any relay points in midair, and he could only see a burst of white light from Deidara's body instantly. Boom. All of a sudden, Sunagakure seemed to be trembling, and countless buildings were directly razed to the ground by the shock wave. Advertisement. And Ye Shenyue and Sasuke were also hit by the strong wind and fell to the ground, barely stabilizing their bodies. Damn it, it's really interesting. Ye Shenyue patted the ashes off his body and took a deep breath. And Sasuke's shoulder was also pierced by a steel bar. He gritted his teeth and pulled out the steel bar. Blood spilled out. But soon, under the strong vitality brought by the curse seal, the wound is constantly healing. At this time, a figure also appeared on the ground. Seeing that Naruto didn't suffer any damage, Deidara frowned, and said doubtfully, this Nine Tails kid, his vitality is so strong, is it because he has mastered Nenglukla? The explosion failed to kill him. Afterwards, he looked at Naruto again, and the iron tail on the back of Filiuhu began to twist continuously. However, since you uninvited guests have come, don't even think about leaving. 9 Tails. You are also the target of our Akatsuki organization 1. You. Deidara's eyes narrowed, and he snorted coldly. Next, let's show you what art is. It's not just one tail. Even Uchiha Itachi's 9 tails, I want to take them back. As soon as the words fell, Sasuke held the Kusanagi sword infused with lightning-style chakra and flew towards Deidara in midair. When did you come? Why didn't I see you? Damn it. Sasuke gritted his teeth. Then, he heard the man's breathing from behind him. For a moment, Deidara even thought he was wrong. What happened just now? Advertisement. I saw dense poisonous needles sweeping towards Sasuke in midair one after another. The speed and number of them almost surprised Sasuke himself. Your enemy is me. Scorpion looked at Sasuke and smiled. Sharingan boy, do you know what is called eternal art? So fast. With my speed in the air, there is no way to keep up with him. And Deidara rode the big bird and hovered upwards for a moment, with a hint of disdain in his eyes. You want to kill me with only this level? This Sharingan boy really doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth. He doesn't know how to respect the old masters of art. Quote. Do you still want to keep up with me at your speed? Deidara flew into the sky on a big clay bird, watching Sasuke who was slower than her, couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh wildly. He stood up. Only a few holes were torn in the clothes on his body. As for the other wounds, they had been healed by the tail beast chakra long ago without leaving a trace. The tail beast coat on his body still hasn't faded away. He stared wide-eyed at Deidara, who continued to fly in midair on the big clay bird, and asked doubtfully, is that clone just now? It's going to explode. I see. His ninjutsu belongs to the category of earth style, and it happened to be restrained by my lightning style. It seems that I can definitely kill this guy. Sasuke spread his wings and flew into the air alone, holding the Kusanagi sword. Countless the thunder kept jumping on the sword. You, a member of the Akatsuki organization, I don't care what kind of relationship you have with Uchiha Itachi, since you know Uchiha Itachi, you will die. Seeing that Deidara would continue to attack, Ye Shenyue directed Sasuke to say, you can directly use lightning style ninjutsu to deal with him. His explosion style secret technique will have no effect when it meets lightning style ninjutsu. Then with the powerful insight brought by Sharingan, he avoided countless poisonous needles one after another, and finally folded his wings to reduce his size, and landed directly on the ground steadily. 1,000 birds sharp gun. Sasuke shouted loudly, and a lightning bolt in his hand suddenly extended tens of meters, ready to pierce through Deidara in the sky. However, the next moment, he saw a flash of light flashing past his eyes. I saw a huge fire dragon soaring into the sky, hovering and rushing towards Deidara in the midair with scorching flames. Advertisement. And Sasuke looked at Deidara in the sky, snorted coldly, then made seals with both hands, and shouted, fire style. How Huolong technique. I saw Xie looking at Deidara above the sky. His voice was a little cold. What's going on? Why is Konoha's 9 stars here? It's completely different from our previous plan. With your speed, you still want to keep up with me. Ye Shenyue sneered, and the photons on both feet condensed and swept towards Deidara's chest fiercely. The next moment, I saw Fei Liuhu looking at Sasuke. I can deal with this guy. Sasuke gritted his teeth, and at this moment he swooped down to the ground, while countless poisonous needles were constantly circling around him. With a bang, Deidara flew upside down and flew out, throwing it fiercely towards the ground. Haha, at your speed of 5.3, you still want to keep up with me. Deidara narrowed his eyes slightly. He was very confident in his maneuverability in the air. He hurriedly turned his head, and saw Ye Shenyue standing on top of his big bird, looking at him with his arms crossed and playful. As for Gaara, she directly wrapped herself in sand and stood in midair without being affected in any way. However, Deidara seemed to be able to handle fire style with ease. With his high mobility, he avoided several fire dragons one after another. Seeing that he was fine, Sasuke hurriedly looked at Naruto, only to find that Naruto was lying among the ruins at the moment. As soon as the words fell, Fei Liuhu opened his big mouth, and sprayed out countless poisonous needles directly from it. But Ye Shenyue scratched his head, and there was a trace of doubt in his eyes. Deidara, I remember you are the youngest in the Akatsuki organization, what is it? Could it be that you can only call yourself a senior in front of these brats?